What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It's your boy, Adam Perez, back once again with a brand new live episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys today as we got 6 incredible topics we're going to be breaking down for you guys today. Sony Pictures, when it comes to the Spider-Universe, what is the fate now that Kraven the Hunter has finally wrapped up? We definitely have some news in regards to that. We got some huge news and returns for Avengers Endgame as Chris Evans and Hayley Atwell are in fact set to return. DC Studios is surprising us with a Clayface movie, believe it or not. And we even have some Mandalorian and Grogu news for you guys. So sit back, relax, a ton more, guys, and we'll certainly see you on the other side. What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. We're back once again with a brand new episode for you guys today, streaming live over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. It's good to see everybody here today. Happy Sunday morning or maybe afternoon, wherever you guys are certainly watching us from. Good old Fort Worth, Texas here for you guys today. A little overcast and cloudy, kind of chilly, but it should be a decent day today. So we'll see how it goes, man. Look, right now, Stuart did hit me up last minute. My co-host may not be able to join us. He will try and join as soon as he can. He's having some plumbing issues at the house at the moment, so hopefully he'll be able to get that squared away and then maybe jump in to finish off and wrap up today's episode with us. But for now, it is I, just solo dolo. Yeah, man, kick back, relax. I got my coffee here ready to go. Do or do not, there is no try. But yeah, let me know what you guys think this week, man. We got a ton of topics to break down for you guys today. Couple of big movies currently in the box office right now. Also a heads up too, I did post my live viewer questions a little bit late for you guys. Actually, as of this morning, maybe like an hour ago. I completely forgot to do it last night as I was setting up for the show. So if you have not submitted your live viewer question, feel free to go ahead and go ahead and do so. Just go over to our YouTube page, click on that community tab, and there is a live viewer question post. You can go ahead and submit it down below, and then we'll get to your questions towards the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everybody's had a fantastic week so far. We're getting ever so close to the holiday season here. Christmas is always here. I'm kind of curious as to what Christmas movies you guys have certainly been watching so far. I tried to watch a little bit of Krampus the other night. I wound up passing out in the middle of it. It was kind of late when I watched it. I've watched Elf more times this year than I can possibly imagine. My little boy, who's 3 years old, wants to watch this movie almost every day. I feel like it's the only movie that really like captures his attention for a brief period of time. But every morning, like, what do you want to watch? Elf. Like we've watched Elf almost every single day this December. So I love the movie. But at some point in time, it's like, come on, kiddo, let me introduce you to some other films like Home Alone. No matter what other Christmas movies we watch, he's got to watch Elf. So it's been pretty interesting this Christmas holiday so far. 2 big movies in the box office right now: Kraven the Hunter, along with The War of the Rohirrim. If you're a big Lord of the Rings fan, we have our first animated film out there. Well, not our first animated film. Lord of the Rings originally was an animated film too. But The War of the Rohirrim is currently out in theaters. I was going to try and find tickets to go see it today in Dolby Cinema, but the one Dolby Cinema that I have has all their screenings for Kraven the Hunter. Like, who wants to go see Kraven the Hunter right now? But I really wanted to see The War of the Rohirrim because I think it's on Dolby and IMAX. I might have to see if I can find it on an IMAX screen. Actually, there is a Dolby Cinema in Arlington, maybe like 20 minutes away from me. They only have one showing of it. So I wanted to see it today, but I may end up actually catching it tomorrow just so I can see it on Dolby. But yeah, I do want to see both of those films, despite how some people have been talking about Kraven the Hunter. I certainly do want to go ahead and see, I do want to see it in theaters. Let's see here. Let's see who we have in our live chat certainly joining us today. And look, guys, remember, as we go through some of these topics, whether that be honorable mentions, our main topics, these are just simply my A plus opinions. I always want to know yours though. So feel free to interact with us, submit your questions over, your thoughts, your opinions over in the live chat or the comment section box below. And we'll definitely go ahead and bounce some conversation pieces off of you guys. Again, it's just myself right now. Hopefully Stuart will be joining us a little bit later if he can get his plumbing situation under control. But for right now, it's just us. So let's show some love to people that are joining us live today. Enrique, what's going on, Enrique? Hey, Adam, just saw the first official clip of the upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog featuring the Tokyo battle scene with Shadow the Hedgehog that is releasing this Friday. This Friday, huh? It's already going to be here. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, we got a lot of movies that are planning on dropping this holiday season, y'all. So it's definitely going to be a busy at the box office for sure. Who else we got? He also says saw the stop motion 2-minute short for a very Sonic Christmas featuring Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails in stop motion. Oh, that sounds pretty cool. I love stop motion animation. I truly am. I just don't have the patience for it. Like I don't know how people do it. I really don't. I also saw a special look at Captain America Brave New World, which releases on Marvel Entertainment YouTube channel last week. Yeah, they did drop a brand new. We'll probably talk a little bit about it here, maybe even feature it a little bit also. Let's see here. Also, a new trailer for the upcoming movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, which is coming to U.S. movie theaters on February 2025. When's the last time we had ourselves a Looney Tunes movie? It feels like it's been a minute, honestly, since outside of like Space Jam. You know what I mean? So that's cool that Looney Tunes is still going strong. We'll see if people go out to see it. First clips of Skeleton Crew episode 3. Marvel, What If season 3, that's right, drops December 22nd, y'all. The final season of What If winds up dropping December 22nd. I'm actually in the process of doing a little bit of a rewatch right now. I'm in I'm in season 1, episode 6. So I am trying to do a watch through before season 3. We will be reviewing season 3 for you guys here, as we've done for the past couple of seasons as well. But Skeleton Crew episode 3 I thought was incredible. I did go ahead and drop a review on our YouTube channel. If you haven't had the opportunity to do so, me and Will Polk from Scene and Nerd, we talked about episode 3 of Skeleton Crew, probably the best one so far. They definitely continue to get better. I really enjoy the show, man. I really enjoy the show. If you want to hear my thoughts on episode 3, go ahead and check out our YouTube video. Final Pixar's dream production from the world of Inside Out has released on Disney Plus last week. I did see that on Disney Plus. I was thinking about checking it out. I don't know if I have had to have seen Inside Out 2 in order to understand what was going on. It's only one of the only reasons why I didn't check out Dream Productions, but from some of the clips that I wind up seeing back at like D23, I think earlier this year, it looks pretty fun. I think Pixar's got that, and I think they also have like an upcoming animated series, if I'm not mistaken, that I'm really looking forward to. So appreciate the heads up on that, Enrique. Ram Jam's in the house. What's up, Ram Jam? The first teaser trailer for number 1 Sentai Goes User has been released. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it here for sure. We got Blossom in the house. What's up, Blossom? Good to certainly see you as always, certainly coming through for us. She says, 3 years old already. Your son's getting big. Yeah, man. Time flies. Like it really does. It's so funny. I was going through my phone the other day because I was removing videos and stuff, trying to clear up some space. And I came across videos of when he was born, and man, I literally sat there for like a good hour just going down memory lane of when he was in the NICU because he was a preemie baby, only about 3 pounds or so, and I was just scanning through all the videos and just watching him grow before my eyes. It's pretty stunning, man, pretty stunning. He's a great kid, a lot of energy. I'm looking at my son, and I'm like, do you have ADHD, or are you like just a boy? And I think he's just a little kid, he's just a little boy. And I feel like I've always heard that they're rambunctious, they're wild, they want to get into everything, and it's just like, yeah, man. I would definitely, they always say like one or 2 hours of like screen time a day at the most, maybe like just an hour. I can see why, especially at least when it comes to boys. Sam, what's up, Sam? Hey, I heard Wheel of Time confirmed season 2 on Amazon Prime. I have not watched Wheel of Time, but I heard good things about season 1. So I appreciate the confirmation, Sam, for season 2 on Amazon Prime. One of the things that I'm currently watching on Amazon right now, or I guess it's MGM Plus, my girlfriend finally got me to watch From. I don't know if you guys have heard that show From. It's I can't remember the actor's name, but he the last time I remember seeing him, he was in the show Lost, and I think this show is from the producers of Lost, not the same writers or anything like that, but from the same producers. And I binge watched like the first 3 episodes yesterday. I'm kind of hooked. I'm kind of hooked. It's on MGM Plus, but I think I watch it like through Prime or something like that. I don't know if they have like an affiliation or whatever the case may be. Also, real quick, man, before we continue, I want to give a shout out to our Facebook page. Our Facebook page, and I feel like I've said this over the past couple of weeks, but it continues to surprise me. Our Facebook page continues to thrive and grow. We were stuck at like 2,500, like 2.5K subscribers for like the longest time. There was like no movement. And then I started introducing like reels and shorts to the channel. And man, I got to tell you, our reach, our growth has been incredible on the channel. Before Christmas, we officially just reached 3,000 followers. I think we're at 3,023 followers right now. So our Facebook page continues to grow. Now I just got to figure out how to monetize off of Facebook a little bit better, to be quite frank with you. But we continue to have great reach and great growth. So anybody watching us over on Facebook, thank you so much for your follow. Thank you so much for your views, being interactive with our posts and reacting and commenting and stuff. All that stuff really does go a really long way. And usually, again, our Facebook page, if you're not following us, that's where we post all of our news, all posters, all trailers, all behind the scenes and featurettes that wind up dropping. So that's really where we keep you up to date all week long, on top of our combo of our YouTube channel, where we do a lot of our reviews. We post our review videos up there as well, our breakdowns and stuff. So those would be like, if you want to follow up with us on a weekly basis, subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow us, especially on our Facebook page. And then if you want to follow us on other social media, you certainly can at A+ Opinions as well, man. But thank you to everybody for your continued support, especially on our Facebook page, man. So thank you so much for that. Ram Jam, he also says Home Alone and Santa Claus with Tim Allen are my go-to Christmas movies. Yeah, I just watched the first Home Alone a couple days ago again. I haven't had the opportunity to pop in Santa Claus. Maybe Santa Claus will be one that I'll go ahead and watch in the next day or two for sure. But yeah, guys, just wanted to give your shout outs to everybody that is joining us live. And again, feel free to, if you want to go ahead and help us out monetarily, we don't have any sponsors or anything like that. So if you want to help with the growth of our channel here, production value, click that super chat. Feel free to submit a super chat over. I'll stop what I'm doing. I'll give you certainly all the focus and celebrate you for definitely helping us out. But if you can't help us out monetarily, that's more than fine. A like, a subscription, or a subscribing to the channel would certainly go a long way and help our algorithm, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for that. With that out of the way, though, guys, let's kick off this show and get into our first segment of the day. We're going to get into our honorable mentions portion of the show. And this is pretty much the aspects of the show, like just topics that didn't quite make our top 6 of discussion today, but definitely felt you certainly deserved to know about them and what's going on in the world of your favorite fandoms and franchises. So first up, ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, Superman is around the corner. That's right. That's right. This is the week. This is the week. James Gunn, well, I don't want to say James Gunn, but Puck News, that's right, Puck News, Puck News, along with the internet insider himself, Jeff Schneider, has in fact said that as of Monday, that's right, Monday, the press will get the opportunity to see the Superman teaser trailer and then it will in fact be released to the public here within the next couple of days. So I would expect, if not the teaser trailer itself on Monday, I would expect it no later than Wednesday personally. So Tuesday and Wednesday I think are pretty much up in the air, but the Superman teaser is coming. Look, I am pumped for this. I do have some reservations for James Gunn pulling the trigger on the idea of some level of a teaser trailer, 7 months out before the movie itself. So I personally am kind of hoping this is a teaser of a teaser, like maybe like a 30-second teaser or something like that. I think would be a really good balance. I don't necessarily know if I need a full minute. Look, I think a minute max. I'm cool with 30 seconds. A minute max works for me. Anything more than that, I think we should hold off. Like I'm thinking we should get ourselves like an official teaser trailer like February or March. Well, probably like February around Christmas time. You could probably put it in front of something like Brave New World. Then give me an official trailer like in March or April, and then give me a second trailer like a month or two out from the release itself. So I will be curious to see how long this teaser trailer is going to be, along with what is going to be shown 7 months out. So remember, the press gets to see the teaser trailer tomorrow on Monday, and then after that, it will be released to the public early next week. So what early means, who certainly knows? But it is in fact almost here. Let's see here. What else we got in the news for you guys today? Oh, Voltron is in the news. That's right. You heard me correctly. Voltron is in the news because filming has begun. That's right. Filming for the film has begun officially. Somebody pinch me, man. I can't believe that this is a reality that we live in. I love the choice of the logo here, going with the classic logo design for Voltron. But yeah, it's happening. Henry Cavill's in the cast. They got a couple other people in here as well, but I'm really excited to see what Voltron is going to do now that it's actually here, y'all. It's actually here. Super Sentai is also in the news here this week too. Look, my Power Rangers and Super Sentai fans, I had to talk about this. We did have ourselves, because we are set to go ahead and celebrate, believe it or not, the 50th anniversary of Super Sentai. It blows my mind. They did reveal themselves a brand new logo designed for the 50th anniversary, as you get to see the very first, all the way to the very on the left here, followed by the most current iteration of the Super Sentai team to the right. But yeah, I think this is a really cool 50th anniversary design. Somebody get me a t-shirt of this. Somebody give me a t-shirt of this. Send this my way. I definitely want this once this gets printed. But they do have a big announcement coming on Christmas Day. So there will be, I'm sure there's probably going to be a ton of Go's user news and probably big update news in regards to just Super Sentai as a brand in general. But not only did we get ourselves a brand new logo, but we did get ourselves our very first look also at the upcoming Super Sentai season. They gave us a brief little teaser. I've seen the teaser without audio. Had to actually listen to it. So let's check this out. Let's see what this teaser is all about. This is from Henshin Justice Unlimited over on Facebook. Let's see if they could give us some. I'll count down all of them, huh? I love how they didn't do one as the first season, but they're literally counting down to 5, 4, 3, 2.
50年目にしてナンバーワンの戦隊。
Ooh, that's nasty. Ooh. Look at that costume, bro. Red Wolf. What? That's sick. That is so sick. Look at that costume. My God. I love the armor up here too. The shoulder pads. It very reminiscent of, like, I'm gonna get into my Power Ranger bag. Very much like the dragon armor, even like from like Dino Thunder and stuff. I absolutely love that. Man, it's even got like the big circle, kind of reminiscent of like Ninja Storm a little bit. Man, I love this design. I love this design. Ooh, nasty. That's so cool. But yeah, but it works for me because I love the idea. Again, originally I would think that you would start the countdown from 1 and work your way up to 50. But considering the fact that they went backwards here, with 1 being the reason why the show is named the show that it is, number 1 Sentai goes Usurer. Very fitting that that they land on number 1 there for him. So I'm expecting probably more cast details, story details, plot synopsis and stuff, directors, action directors, writers announced, and things like that come Christmas, December 25th. So I'm expecting a lot more information. Man, I gotta catch up, man. I missed out on King Osier. I didn't finish. I didn't finish. Boon Boomger. So I got some work to do, man. I got some work to do. Somebody like revoke my Super Sentai card right now. I need to catch up, man. This is like the only thing closest to Power Rangers I got. So I really need to. You know, I think the issue and struggle I have with Super Sentai is like the seasons are so damn long. When I was younger, I used to love that stuff. Like, oh, 40 plus episodes, yes, and I'd be back every week. But now that I'm in my 40s, I'm kind of like I feel like I'm trailing off a little bit. Like, man, there's just so much other television to watch. You know, like there's just long seasons. So I got to get back into it. I got to get back into it for sure. Ram Jam says Goes Usurer is a season I would watch all the way through. I mean, we haven't even seen the first episode, Ram Jam, and you're set, man. You're set. I love it. I love the commitment already. Let's see here. What other honorable mentions? Oh, as mentioned before, Captain America Brave New World did drop a brand new, like I think it was like a minute long teaser or something like that, brand new trailer with some insight and look into it. If you guys haven't had the opportunity to check it out, please go ahead and do yourselves a favor. This movie is dropping February 14th, Valentine's Day, but I absolutely love this new poster that wind up dropping with it also, man. It looks absolutely incredible, to be quite frank with you. You know, I will say this. Look, I wasn't blown away by the 1 minute look that we wind up getting, but Empire Magazine, if you want to go on our Facebook page, Empire Magazine has a bunch of brand new sort of Captain America articles that talk about really the importance of why we need the Avengers, the idea of Sam Wilson bringing the Avengers back together here, hopefully eventually. The gentleman that plays the leader, Tim Blake Nelson, this week talked about the idea that his character is going to be practical effects, no CGI, that he personally wanted to feel like the weight of the big head on his head as the leader. I guess it's one, I don't want to say method acting, but I would assume, if anything, probably helps him get into his role as the leader a lot more, having sort of those practical effects instead of just the little dots on your head. So I am really fascinated. They've been really keeping the leader in the dark and what he looks like, but I am really fascinated to kind of see what he's going to look like at the end of the day. So yeah, a lot of great articles from Empire Magazine wind up releasing, and if you guys did not get the opportunity to check out the trailer itself, well, you know, we'll dive into it real quick. Why not? Why not? Let's do it, y'all, because it's only like a minute long, so we'll try and breeze through that. Let me pull this up. All right, here we go.
You know I've been no fan of heroes, but even I can't deny the good that you've done. Work with me, Sam. The country needs Captain America. The world is on the brink of war. It's my job to fix it. Ooh, what if it's a trap? Stand by for proof of that. Somebody is pulling the strings on everything. Captain America. You don't even know what this is. You want me? Come and get me!
16.
Tell me I don't make your old gear look brand new. Who's saying that? Everybody.
This is our first time I think we've actually seen them together. Falcon and the new Captain America. I love the color scheme on Falcon's suit. He says, "Tell me I don't make your old gear look brand new." It looks pretty legit. I dig it. Uh, look, a captain needs his Falcon. You know what I'm saying? So I absolutely love the idea that Joaquin Torres is his new wingman in here. We saw them briefly in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but this is definitely going to be on a whole nother level. Look, we even have the leader in here saying, Sam, you have no idea who's like, he even says, Sam Wilson here says, we got to figure out who's pulling the strings. And the leader himself says, you have no idea what is going on here. So to me, this movie almost feels like, one, it does feel like potentially there are a lot of moving pieces in here. This movie is clocking in at like 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's probably like the longest Marvel film that we've had, if not in a long time. So it does feel like there's a lot of moving pieces in here. When you got Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt Ross, he's now turning into Red Hulk. You also have Isaiah Bradley, who was the Black Captain America from the past that had a little bit of a story arc in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What is his storyline in here also? Then you got the concept of, from what I've been reading, the introduction possibly to adamantium from the celestial being that people are certainly fighting over. And then you've got the Falcon in here as well, and the leader on top of that. And you also have the Serpent Society with Sidewinder being played by Juan Carlo Esposito, right? So it feels like there's a lot of moving pieces to this movie. So I am kind of curious as to how are they going to tell it. But when you have somebody like the leader saying you have no idea what's even going on, it feels like there's even a bigger picture here that we aren't even being fully aware of. And I wonder if, like, how big of a piece, like what the ramifications of this movie on the rest of the MCU certainly might be, because it feels like it could have a trickling effect moving forward to other movies. So I don't know, but I will say this: Fandango this week did release like their top 10 most anticipated movies based off of a poll that they wind up taking. Captain America: Brave New World was at the top of that list, y'all. So people are really looking forward to this film. So I'm eager to kind of see Sam Wilson back in the red, white, and blue once again. And then last but not least, man, we did have ourselves what I was loved this week. And as 28 years later, we officially wind up getting ourselves a teaser trailer for this, and talk about intense, horrifying all at the same time. Just a eerie feeling for sure after watching this, but it really hit all the things that I needed the trailer to hit in order for me to be hyped and ready for it. I mean, to be fair, I was going to be hyped and ready for this movie anyway. So I probably didn't need any additional help, but the release of the 28-day later trailer certainly did it for me. I'm trying to see if I can find it so we can watch it together real quick. It came in at about just under just a little over 2 minutes here. But if you haven't had the opportunity to watch it, let's go ahead and check this out together, shall we? What will humanity become? Let's check this out.
7, 6, 11, 5, 9, and 20 miles today.
Teletubbies, man.
Auntie, what's going on? Jimmy, sit still, keep quiet, and do not move from this spot.
They look terrifying.
Seven, 6, 11, 5, 9, and 20 miles today. 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Don't look at what's in front of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. Men go mad with watching them. There's no discharge in the war.
Damn.
If your eyes drop, they will get the top of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the wall. Try to think of something different. Oh, God, keep from going lunatic. Moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the wall. 7, 6, 11, 5, 4, 17, 32 the day before.
Man, intense, bro. Intense. The audio track for that alone is riveting and moves this trailer along for sure. I mean, it just literally as it rises, it just heightens the intensity. And it definitely gives me some levels of anxiety. I can't remember what I did read briefly that that's actually from like a poem that somebody wrote or from writings that somebody wrote in like a previous war back in the day. The concept of like constantly moving, marching for just miles a day with like nobody and nothing in sight, you know what I mean, to the point to where it really had like psychological damage on some of these on the soldiers themselves. And so, the fact that they decided to utilize that in a manner for the audio on here just really makes it terrifying. I do love like the pockets of humanity that we have, but it just shows you the level of like protection that these people are certainly taking, blockading themselves in. They got the weapons out, the barbed wire fences. It does feel very much like traversing across this world is not easy just to get to these pockets of community. There is one really chilling scene here that I do find fascinating, and it's this one here. You have this gentleman, this hulking gentleman. This dude looks huge, and we kind of see him throughout this trailer too, running down people, attacking the soldiers themselves. But it's just this huge hulking figure. He's just standing there while everybody else is like just running. It makes me feel like he's like a leader of this group, or the virus has in some way sort of evolved. Maybe there's a consciousness. I don't know what's going on here, but it does seem as though there's like one big ass gentleman in here that's really causing havoc. I love seeing Aaron Taylor Johnson in here. I think he might actually really bring a lot to this movie as well. There are a couple of really incredible scenes. I'm looking forward to just the return of Danny Boyle, the return of Alex Garland, who did the original ones, who's going to be now back to go ahead and do this movie as well. So the fact that they're getting the original team back together certainly helps for sure. There was a scene here too, if I can find it. Somebody thought that this was, people kept looking at this scene and immediately thought that this was Cillian Murphy. I do want to assure you guys, this is not Cillian Murphy. They did have somebody come out this week, the actual person in here who plays the zombie with the makeup on, and confirm that it's him, but it is not Cillian Murphy. So Cillian Murphy's cameo is still somewhere in here, but eerily similar to Cillian Murphy, to certainly say the least. But yeah, man, that's 28 years later. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this movie. I truly am. We are going to be releasing our top 5 most anticipated movies of 2025 here within the next couple of weeks, either before Christmas or before New Year's for you guys. So certainly look out for that, and we'll see if 28 years later makes my list. What are some of the things you guys are saying? Marcelino, what's up, Marcelino? Hello, Adam. Just wanted to remind you about Santa Inc. miniseries. Yes, thank you. I'm gonna write this down on my whiteboard right now. Santa Inc. I might have some time after I pick up my little boy. Maybe we'll check that out. Maybe I can get him. Is it animated? Is it live action? He says, because I remember you mentioning that, whether it's as bad as people say it is or if it's an underrated gem. I'll check it out. I put it on my whiteboard though. Marcelino, so how does this connect to the previous two? Who's returning? Any lingering plot lines from the previous two that will be finally get paid off here? I don't know if it is connected to the overall previous two. They aren't ignoring 28 weeks later. Whether or not anybody returns from there, that I don't know. But I would assume that this is just a continuation of everything that's happened from 28 days, 28 weeks, and clearly a vast time has changed here. So we'll see. We'll see. If we get any payoff from the previous two, but I would assume since it is at least Alex Garland and Danny Boyle returning, maybe there's connective tissues to the first one mostly, but I don't expect them to like retcon or completely ignore it. I'm very much under the impression that this is a continuation of the two that previously came before. Hunter, what's up, Hunter? Appreciate you coming through. What's happening to the kids that got the virus from 28 weeks later? I mean, well, who knows? Maybe they have a presence in here for all we know. I mean, who knows? Maybe that big hulking character that we see is one of the kids, and that's how they transformed as the virus evolved. I have no idea, but I definitely do expect there to be some connections in some capacity. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they even wrapped filming for the second of this trilogy of 28 years later as well. So yeah, a lot to look forward to, man. But June 20th, 28 years later, returns. Oh, Marcin says, don't show Santa Inc. to your son because it's an adult cartoon claymation. Okay, thank you, thank you for the heads up. Let's watch this, Noah. Oh, cover your eyes. Thank you for the heads up. But that will do it for our honorable mentions. Took a little bit longer just because we had some trailers I really wanted to sink our teeth into a little bit and enjoy with you guys. But now that that is out of the way, again, if you guys want to submit your live viewer questions over, please go ahead and certainly do so. I did see yours, Ram Jam, here. I'm going to go ahead and star this so I can come back to your question later on. But if you do want to submit a live viewer question, go over to our YouTube channel, click on that community tab, and there is a live viewer question post for you guys, and then we'll get to them towards the end of the show. But do us a big favor, man, especially if you're in the live chat. If you're watching us live today, if you haven't hit that like button, man, hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds. It's free. Doesn't hurt anybody, but it certainly helps us in our algorithm and our outreach. So if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, wherever you're at, if you have the like option on there, smash that button, man. But with that out of the way, let's get into our main topics today. We got some doozies here and some exciting topics to certainly discuss with you guys today. As you guys see at the very forefront of this, our main story is going to be the fate of the Spider-Man universe. Look, I don't know how you guys have felt so far about the Sony Spider-Man universe. Whether that be the Venom trilogy itself, Morbius, Madam Web, Kraven the Hunter. I was not a fan of Morbius. I was not a fan of Madam Web. Look, I've had my issues with Venom. I feel like I've come to appreciate the first Venom a little bit more over time as I wind up watching the sequels afterwards. I think for me, when it comes to Venom 3, The Last Dance, really the only aspect of that movie I was a fan of was maybe the final act and the action pieces. Outside of that, I didn't really care for it as much, but I have come to appreciate the first Venom a little bit more over time, honestly. But because of the track record that is the Spider-Man universe from Sony Pictures, it has really kind of put things up in the air for them. This past week, we've had Amy Pascal and a couple other producers from Sony Pictures kind of discuss what their future plans are. You know, I will say, I'm going to read 2 articles for you guys. There is one article that wind up dropping first, and as we read it, I will go ahead and also let you know what I've been seeing from people's reaction from this first article and how people are kind of perceiving this this story. But let's go ahead and get into our first topic, and this is Sony puts hold on Spider-Man universe films. This one is going to come to us from comingsoon.net. And to be fair to comingsoon.net, they actually did pull this story from now, why can't I find it? Oh, there it is. Is that it? No. Wait. Hold on. Let me see. I'm trying to see why this one isn't being picked up by StreamYard here. I'm trying to. There it is. Okay, it finally popped up for me. There we go. This is from comingsoon.net. Kraven the Hunter is Sony's Spider-Man universe's last movie. For now, is what it says. Now this article is going to be a pain in the ass too, isn't it? I don't know why they have all these ads on these websites. Okay. Come on, website. Why are you doing this? It says, according to the Wrap. So they did get this article from the Wrap originally. So it says the next Sony Spider-Man movie is Kraven the Hunter, which opens in theaters December 13th. Come on, why is this doing this to me today, bro? According to the Wrap, this is because Sony doesn't have any plans moving forward with the Spider-Man universe films at this time. It says the article reads, for Sony, the future appears to lie in projects more directly connected to Spider-Man himself. They develop what they want to develop for now, a top talent agent told the Wrap. It's really about the next Spider-Man film. According to a second Sony insider, the studio is now focusing its efforts on Tom Holland's highly anticipated fourth Spider-Man film, the next installment in the acclaimed Spider-Verse animated films series with Beyond the Spider-Verse, and a Spider Noir television series featuring Nicolas Cage, projects that lean into rather than away from the web slinger's central appeal. So it says the future of Spider-Man's Sony universe beyond that remains unclear at this time, as while a number of different projects were announced to be in development, there are no firm release dates or publicly announced plans to move forward with any specific film. And it says, according to the Wrap, this is because Sony doesn't have any plans to move forward with any other films at this time. Instead, they do plan to dive more into some of their upcoming Spider-Man films. So it says it's really about the next Spider-Man film. It's now focusing its efforts on Tom Holland's Spider-Man, the next Spider-Verse film, Beyond the Spider-Verse, along with the Spider Noir television series from Nicolas Cage. So yeah, they're leaning a little bit more into the web slinger's central appeal instead of sort of distancing itself from it. So the article does state in here, it's just, for the Wrap itself, when they went ahead and talked about this, did mention the idea that it was just for now. But people kind of took this idea of the Sony universe is dead, like dead, or that it's completely over with. And that's just certainly not the case. They may not have anything certainly on the docket as of right now. It's just funny. It's just interesting to me that even when the title or the headline of an article literally says "for now" in it, people literally ran with this concept of the Spider-Man universe being completely dead. And I wind up posting a couple things on Twitter like, are you guys even reading what I'm reading? Like, I understand the idea that people may not be fond of how the Sony Pictures has utilized these characters or put out these movies. I mean, a lot of these movies have ended up being trash, unfortunately. And I know that a lot of us have been really wanting them to stop making films or to give the rights back to Marvel. But I do think at some point in time, we have to stop sort of putting our own needs and wants onto a production company, because the rap clearly states the idea that it's done for now, as they move their attention to certainly other things. Nowhere in any of the articles does it say that it's dead or that they're never making a Spider-Man movie anymore, or other Spider-Man universe films at Sony, to the point to where uh, later on that week, um Variety even had to come out with a report to kind of clarify on top of what the rap wind up saying. And this is literally after I wind up putting out, posts on Twitter about the idea, like, guys, the article literally says for now, but people are saying it's dead. Variety literally came out and said, even after Kraven the Hunter and Madam Web, Sony Marvel movies aren't dead. This is an exclusive from them. And maybe to the groans of many people, like, more Sony movies. Yes, more Sony movies. But even they had to certainly clarify. But I will say, this article right here does give us a lot of fascinating insights in regards to what the mindset of Sony Pictures is, for good or for bad, unfortunately. And I thought this one was definitely worth checking out to see exactly what they're saying. It says, towards the end of Sony Pictures' newest Marvel movie, Kraven the Hunter, it is clear allusions to the character's greatest nemesis in the Marvel Comics Spider-Man. It's almost certainly the closest the character will ever get to confronting the web slinger. Kraven is projected to take in one of the lowest ever opening weekends for a Marvel superhero film, making it the third of Sony Pictures' unsuccessful attempts to spin off a secondary Spider-Man character in its own movie franchise, following Morbius and last February's Madam Web. The looming box office failure almost certainly signifies the end of this endeavor at the studio, which one acknowledgeable insider at Sony imputed to an industry-wide irrational exuberance about superheroes that has ultimately led to the overall diminishment of the genre's primacy as the leading force at the box office. What it does not signify, however, is the end of Sony's Marvel universe. It says, for one thing, technically speaking, there never really was a Sony Marvel universe or a Sony Spider-Man universe or any other official designation akin to the MCU or the newly relaunched DC universe. Sony has never approached its comic book adaptations with that level of intentional narrative cohesion, as exemplified by the studio's casual, lowercase, and rhetorically ungainly phrasing for its superhero films, Sony Universe of Marvel characters. For another, Sony remains deeply invested in making movies about Spider-Man, the beloved Marvel character who launched the current era of superhero cinema in 2026. The fourth Spider-Man film starring Tom Holland is expected to start filming in 2025. The animated Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse is in production and will conclude with the Oscar-winning trilogy focusing on Miles Morales. And Sony is also producing a live-action Spider-Man noir series. Sony insiders are fiercely... Come on, man. Sony insiders also fiercely defend the success of the three Venom films starring Tom Hardy, which have earned more than $1.8 billion worldwide. The latest Venom, The Last Dance, has earned the lowest grossing yet. So there's really no financial reason for Sony to stop making Venom movies anytime soon. But Venom, built around a widely popular character with its own distinct imprint on the culture, also presented Sony with the false impression that audiences would flock to see a movie about any Spider-Man character without Spider-Man in the film. So when I'm reading this definitely feels very much like he says, the idea that just because the first Venom was a success, they thought that they could probably utilize other characters to this same success, where in reality it's the idea that Venom is just so culturally profound and has such an imprint on it in its own right that's really what sort of carries it. But clearly they read that wrong. All these characters are famous because they went up against Spider-Man, says an exhibitor relations analyst, Jeff Bach. Unfortunately for Sony, they had a taste of success with Venom, and that kind of spoiled everything for them because they thought that they could just spin off all these characters. I don't think they realized that Venom can carry a franchise, whereas the other characters could not. To not have Spider-Man in these films was the fatal flaw. Sony so far, Sony is far from alone in aggressively expanding its superhero portfolio at the end of the 2010s, only to wither a sharp decline both in quality and audience interest in the 2020s. But the studio was caught in a unique catch-22 of its own making. The unprecedented deal between studio and Disney's Marvel Studios to share Spider-Man within the MCU. Wait, before I go on, first, let me just say, while I do think that there is some truth to the idea that you have Venom can really sort of carry his own franchise, I also would challenge the notion of, while yes, they probably got spoiled with Venom being successful, I do think you can make these other characters into something more than they're not. Like the idea of Madam Web, one, I do question, why Madam Web? Like, why Madam Web if you don't have a bigger overall interconnected story that you want to tell? Because I feel like that's how Madam Web has usually been utilized in the comic books, in the sense that she kind of connects future storylines together or big crossover events, right? With her having the ability to kind of tell the future. I mean, Kraven the Hunter, I think, could probably have his own trilogy and franchise. But I think the problem here is not so much the idea of them thinking, oh, we can just take any character. I think the problem is when you take these characters, you don't support them with good directing or good writing. I mean, if you have abysmal writing, it don't matter what type of movies you have or what type of characters you have. The movies are going to sink if people think that the story sucks and you don't really propel these characters to the next level that they're really not acquainted with. And so I get the idea of them being spoiled by Venom, but then to come out and say, hey, we're going to do a Morbius movie, we're going to do a Madam Web movie, a Kraven the Hunter movie, I would say 2 out of those 3 have potential of being great films. I think Kraven's a very compelling character. I think Morbius could be turned into a compelling character. But just the idea of like, hey, we want to take these characters and make franchises, you also got to support them with competent and great writing. And we've seen far in between that they haven't done that. Like Morbius fell, and yet they gave the Morbius writers like other movies to do. If I'm not mistaken, I think they might have done the Madam Web movie also. Like, how do you watch Morbius, hear the reaction from the fans, and still say, you know what, we're going to give you guys another movie to do, Madam Web, and expect some level of success? Like, it just does not work that way. So I do think it's maybe a combination of both. Maybe being fooled that they can just turn any character into that, but then also not learning from their past mistakes and continuing to attach really terrible writers or weak writers to these franchises. But the studio was caught in a unique catch-22 of its own making. The unprecedented deal between the studio and Disney's Marvel Studios to share Spider-Man within the MCU, starting with 2016 Civil War and 2017 Spider-Man Homecoming. The partnership, in which Marvel Studios chief Kevin Feige and Sony Pictures chief Amy Pascal produced the Tom Holland-led films for Sony, have been fabulously lucrative for Sony, with worldwide grossing topping $3.9 billion. but it also siloed off Holland's Peter Parker from any Sony projects that aren't officially part of the MCU. The corporate entanglements when studios try to work together are really hard, says one top executive with the extensive experience in superhero space. Sony has no flexibility. They have a cage that they have to work in, and they're just trying to make one good movie at a time. According to one Sony source, the deal with Sony never precluded Sony from using Spider-Man in its movies that didn't bear his name. The Spider-Verse movies, profusion of Peter Parkers, Gwen Stacy's, and other Spider people certainly bears that out. But there was a feeling within the studio that audiences would not accept Holland's Spider-Man suddenly popping up in a live action that wasn't a part of the MCU, especially after Spider-Man No Way Home. And projects like Loki and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse established definitive boundaries to the Marvel Universe. So again, this definitely shows here you could have used the character. You could have used it, but Sony Pictures thought it might be a little bit too confusing the audiences if he were in fact to pop up and say something like a Sony picture. They'll probably be asking questions. I mean, I guess maybe the Michael Keaton popping up at the end of Morbius probably kind of confused some fans. I don't know if they, again, weak storytelling in the sense of really not making it make sense for people. But I do think that we live in a world where people would have been, I mean, it probably would have confused some people, but I also think for Sony Pictures, it certainly would have bolstered their profits when it comes to some of these movies. And hell, you've got a bunch of other Spider-Man characters you certainly could have used. Nobody's stopping you from making a Spider-Gwen movie, right? Nobody's stopping you from bringing Andrew Garfield back if you got a great story. People have been asking for a return of Andrew Garfield. He couldn't be the Spider-Man in this Venom, Morbius, Kraven the Hunter sort of world. It's funny to me because I was always a supporter of the idea of thinking to myself, okay, Tom Holland will do these MCU films. And then maybe this will lead to the idea of secret wars. And then maybe this would thrust him sort of back into the Sony universe. Like I was always under the impression that they made these solo Spider-Man films in order to go ahead and sort of, prep the world, prep the way for an oncoming and incoming sort of Spider-Man to this world. You could have used Ben Reilly. You could have used, well, look, they are currently using Miles Morales in something like the animated world. But, you utilize Miles Morales. So, again, it does show that they could have used Tom Holland's Spider-Man or any other Spider-Man if they wanted to in this time, but they honestly felt that fans just would not accept it. This seems to have had the greatest impact on Morbius, which was originally scheduled to premiere in 2020, well before No Way Home and Doctor Strange 2, but due to the pandemic wound up opening after them. The delay forced Sony into reshoots to account for how Michael Keaton's introduced as part of the MCU's in Homecoming could be standing in the same room as Leto's vampire, a character who isn't in the MCU. A fun conceit that didn't seem like a big deal until the multiverse suddenly made it one. Dancing around Spider-Man without ever getting to use him also contributed to feeling that these spin-off films were merely exercises in craven opportunism. You can feel the cynicism a mile away. They're grinding out product and it feels like there's no quality control. Amen to that. Amen to that. It doesn't feel like there's any quality control to these movies. Privately, Sony insiders acknowledge that Kraven, Madam Web, and Morbius are creative and critically duds, even though they also insist that Morbius, which made 167 million globally, did turn a profit. Moving forward, they say the studio will need to be more discerning about which, if any, of the studio's stable of Spider-Man characters should be elevated into their own movie franchise. So here you have it. It's not necessarily dead, but after they focus on the upcoming Spider-Man projects, Moving forward, they say the studio will need to be more discerning about which, if any, of the studio stable of Spider-Man characters should be elevated into their movie franchises. There's a different possibility as well. You could hire a different Spider-Man, Box says. It doesn't have to be Tom. Man, that's a bombshell. It doesn't have to be Tom. Are they floating the idea of bringing in a new Peter Parker here? Look, it says it does say bring in a new Spider-Man, right? You could have a new Spider-Man possibly being cast for Sony's world. It doesn't necessarily need to be Peter Parker. I would be open to a Ben Reilly. If you want to give me a Scarlet Spider, I'll take a Scarlet Spider. Considering the fact that we have not been introduced to a Spider-Man in the Sony world, I think you can easily jump off the idea of there once was a Spider-Man and he was cloned, and this clone is now kind of trying to come into his own again. I would take a Ben Reilly live-action Spider-Man. Hell, I'll take a Andrew Garfield if they want to. I don't know if it would be a good look, though, to get themselves like a new Peter Parker, because Tom Holland is so beloved by Peter Parker as Peter Parker, and Tom Holland's got at least another trilogy in him, right? He's got Spider-Man 4. I would expect a Spider-Man 5 and a Spider-Man 6 from Tom Holland. So I continue to expect Sony and Marvel to continue to work alongside them. I really would like Miles Morales to be into the Sony pictures, but based off of just their lack of care of characters and their lack of competency when it comes to writing, I really don't want them to brutalize the Miles Morales character. Unless you have somebody like Lord and Miller that are going to be shepherding those Miles Morales films like they're doing the animated trilogy, then I would be completely on board with that. But if you're just going to hand Sony Pictures Miles Morales, it would be worrisome to me. And I am very much under the impression Kevin Feige would like to have Miles Morales sort of mentored by Peter Parker in the MCU. And so once we do get through these Tom Holland movies, maybe Miles Morales could then wind up being the MCU Spider-Man. But it does certainly beg the question as to what should Sony certainly do here. Clearly, they are a cash grab at this point in time, as they have been incompetent films, to certainly say the least. But I do not expect Sony Pictures at any point in time to sell the rights or give up the rights to Spider-Man. I mean, it is money in their pocket. Sony Pictures does own it. I think as long as they're making movies, they will continue to own the rights, but they definitely do need to be more focused on to not only who the characters are, because I think they've picked some really good characters to focus on. I truly have, but it is going to come down to the idea of who is your writer, who is your directors. Are you just going to utilize recycled writers that haven't made a hit in their life to save their day, or have made mediocre movies, sort of thing, right? Like, you have to really take your Spider-Man universe seriously. And while I don't necessarily believe that they need to be big crossover events or interconnected worlds, I do think it would certainly help. Spider-Man has so many characters and so many storylines that I think can easily be tapped into, that if you can literally just sit down with a really great writer's room, come up with a game plan for, a 5-10 year plan or whatever the case may be, you could have something here. So look, I'm not going to give up hope on Sony, but the question that I would have for Sony is, how seriously are you going to take this? If you really are, after these Spider-Man projects, gonna have another approach and possibly makes more Spider-Man films, please take it seriously, because fans are very much on to you at this point in time. No El Muerto. I don't need a wrestling superhero. But really try and sit back and pick out a character. And I would throw this to you guys. If you're Sony Pictures, if you had to take one or two characters that you wanted to make a movie about going forward, which Spider-Man character would you truly tap into? Whether that be to create a franchise and trilogy around, or at least start off a connected universe picture without maybe necessarily creating a Spider-Man movie right away. how would you do it? What would you do? Who knows? Give me like and this is gonna sound crazy, give me like a Jackal movie where he literally creates a Spider-Man clone or a Ben Riley, and the idea of Ben Riley escaping or something like that and going on to become his own, and then maybe launch him into his own series of Scarlet Spider films. Like I don't know, but there's got to be some characters out there that you can certainly utilize to launch off new franchises. So it does sound like behind the scenes it's been a little bit of a mess for Sony. I am kind of curious if you guys think, had Tom Holland popped up in any of these films, if you would have been confused in any way, shape, or form. Or if they should have utilized him or other Spider-Mans at some point in time. I really think they should have, or led up to it. Or hell, fans would probably got a kick out of the idea of like just a news report of a web slinger or something like that in this world, just to connect it, because it just felt like they were just making movies for movie's sake without an overall game plan. And it definitely shows at the box office. But maybe there's hope. Maybe there's hope for Sony, but I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts. He said, I heard the opposite when it comes to Venom. People say that they love the second one more because it's a dumb, fun nature, and it made it more entertaining to watch, while the first one was boring and generic. That's just my opinion. I mean, other people can have their opinions for sure. Morbius writers also did Dracula Untold, Last Witch Hunter, and Gods of Egypt, which are all bad. The only thing that they were attached to was Power Rangers movies, which they didn't write, meaning someone else wrote it when they came up with ideas. It's weird they thought Spider-Man would be confusing when early concept art showed Tom Holland Spider-Man fighting Ezekiel Sims. Yeah, I don't know why they backtracked. I see a world where El Muerto movie could work. It would be a good movie, but under Sony, it would be the next Morbius, Madam Web. Yeah, I just don't have any. I just don't have any like. I really don't have a desire for an El Muerto movie. I mean, maybe it could work, but especially with Bad Bunny at the helm, I'm not trying to give this man a franchise. Like it just feels like the wrong foot to get people excited about. I feel like it's more meme movies with El Muerto. But maybe you got a really great idea, Marcelino. But look, guys, I want to know your thoughts. What Sony character would you want to tackle next if Sony decided to go ahead and take this a little bit more seriously? I definitely would love to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our next topic. Hold on. Marcelo says, I saw a video where someone restructured the Sony universe with Miles Morales being the main Spider-Man and setting up various villains and concluding with Secret Wars where the two universes collide. I very much was under the impression that that's something along the lines that they were certainly going to try and do. Or at least, there's a part of me that's kind of hoping that these animated films were produced a little bit quicker. Because then I think you could have really had Beyond the Spider-Verse and stuff, and all of them had really timely release dates, had the pandemic not slowed anything down. I really do think that you probably could have injected Miles Morales into these Spider-Man movies before we even got to something like Secret Wars. So I do think there's could have been some possibility in that for sure. But from one MCU storyline to another, well, maybe not necessarily MCU from Sony, but diving into the MCU, we do have some news in regards to the upcoming Avengers Doomsday. That's right. We got some huge casting news and announcements here, some that I definitely was not expecting. I thought Robert Downey Jr. returning from Avengers Doomsday was probably going to be the biggest announcement when it comes to casting for this film. And if I thought that, I would certainly be wrong, because, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Evans himself is certainly set to go ahead and return. That's right. You heard me right. Chris Evans himself as Steve Rogers is set to go ahead and join Avengers Doomsday. This article actually comes to us from The Wrap that had the exclusive news about it. Let's go ahead and dive into this. It says, Chris Evans sets Marvel return in Avengers Doomsday. This is an exclusive report from them. Let me bring this up here. The actor who most recently appeared in Deadpool and Wolverine as his Fantastic Four character, Johnny Storm. Chris Evans is returning to the MCU as part of the cast for Avengers Doomsday, the highly anticipated sequel that will also star Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, the Wrap has learned exclusively. Evans will be involved in some capacity, but the extent and exact nature of his role is unknown. After sunsetting his Steve Rogers characters in 2019 Endgame, Evans recently made his brief return in Deadpool and Wolverine, but as his character Johnny Storm. The Russo brothers, who directed both Evans and Downey in Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame, are returning to direct Doomsday, its direct sequel, Avengers Secret Wars. Evans' return to the MCU has long been rumored in fanboy circles, but Marvel declined to comment. The circumstances of his return are of particular interest, given that his Steve Rogers character was an old man by the end of Avengers Endgame, but Downey is returning to Marvel as Tony Stark variant after his on-screen version of Tony Stark died in Endgame. So all options are on the table. Evans' team did not immediately respond to the Wrap's request for comment. So I see if there's any other additional information attached to this. No, that looks like that's about it. But he is not the only one that is in fact set to return either. Later on that week, we also wind up getting that his love interest, and somebody that I'm always a big fan of, is set to return as well, as Hayley Atwell is set to go ahead and reprise her role. It says specifically Agent Carter in Marvel Studios' picture for Avengers Doomsday. So Hayley Atwell is returning, with Chris Evans likely reprising his Steve Rogers role in Avengers Doomsday. It looks like his former partner in crime will be joining him in the new Marvel movie. Sources tell Deadline that Hayley Atwell is expected to reprise her Agent Carter role in the film, which Anthony and Joe Russo are returning to direct, and Marvel President Kevin Feige on board to produce. They also did not respond for comment. Plot details are unknown at this time. It says Deadline was first to report back in 2021 that Marvel and Evans were discussing a return in some form to the MCU, and belief was that Atwell was also part of that plan to potentially return for a standalone movie. A story for that film could not get nailed down, but in recent months, both sides saw a new Avengers film as the perfect opportunity to bring back both characters. Atwell will be seen reprising her role as Grace in the upcoming Spider-Man Mission Impossible movie, Final Reckoning. So Chris Evans and Hayley Atwell certainly set to go ahead and return. Our fantastic couple here, man. Steve Rogers along with Agent Carter are certainly set to come back. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little bit bummed at the notion that this is not Captain Carter. I'm a huge Captain Carter fan, even though I know that we just recently got the opportunity to see her in something like not only the What If series, but also big time in Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. I really personally wish that she had a little bit more screen time, to be quite frank with you. But this does open up a huge can of, I don't want to say can of worms, but a huge world of possibility as to who these characters or who these actors certainly might be returning as, or what form I should certainly say. You know, when it comes to Chris Evans, they do refer to him as Steve Rogers is returning. Last time that we saw Steve, he was Old Man Steve, as you see here to the left. There have been rumors circulating that he could potentially be returning as the Nomad character, a very brief persona that he takes in the comic books. I believe he takes up the new persona because he winds up finding out that I think the president or somebody in high government rankings is working with the enemy, and it really forms a distrust of the U.S. government and what the country is certainly fighting for. And Steve Rogers at the time doesn't know if he wants to represent what the United States certainly means. And so he winds up taking off the stars and stripes, and he winds up becoming the character Nomad for a brief period of time, bringing on a whole new costume and everything because of the fact that he's kind of disgraced to really the idea of the United States not living up to its symbol that he certainly was fighting for at some point in time. There are other rumors and possibilities that he may come back with this being the multiverse. Could we potentially get ourselves a Captain Hydra version of the character in some capacity? That would be really compelling also. I've seen storylines in the comic books where even as Old Man Steve Rogers, he's like the lead of Shield. Could we be introduced to a brand new Shield? Maybe him. Well, I was going to say maybe him and Captain Carter would certainly return to form a new group or a new Shield program. I would assume the idea of getting back Steve Rogers or Chris Evans here, I don't necessarily believe that we would get an Old Man Steve. There is a part of me that thinks because this is a multiverse, I have a feeling that these two might in fact be the versions of themselves that they might come back. Well, look, I think we were all happy that these two lovebirds got the opportunity to kind of live out their dream scenario and get the happy ending that they deserved. It is a little hard for me to believe Steve Rogers and Agent Carter just sitting on the sidelines and watching everything else certainly happen around them. And so whether or not maybe they're pulled from time, maybe they come back as a duo to go ahead and take on and help out the Avengers. Maybe Steve does come back as Nomad or another character, as Carter comes back as her Agent Carter self. I have no idea. But I do think there's a lot of fun possibilities in here. You know, I used to have a theory that at the end of What If Season 3, this upcoming series, with Captain Carter kind of being stuck in the multiverse, I also think that she deserves sort of a happy ending herself. And I personally would like to see her happy ending be the same ending that Steve Rogers gets by going back in time to Steve Rogers at the end, like an end game ending for Steve that way. And What If Season 3 Captain Carter ending that same exact way? And wouldn't it be trippy if that does happen? Could this then be the possibility that we've got ourselves a Captain Carter and a Captain America that are actually together in this particular scene from Endgame? It would really trip me out if that's how it winds up turning out. But I have a feeling that again, this is just speculation on my part, but I have a feeling with the return of, I think originally when they announced Chris Evans, I was very much on the role of, oh, we're definitely getting ourselves a Captain Hydra, maybe in whatever world that this Robert Downey Jr. Victor Von Doom certainly might be in. Is that a possibility? Could Chris Evans be playing two different roles? Absolutely. That would be pretty bananas for me too. But when they announced the return of Hayley Atwell as Agent Carter, it just honestly brought me back to this scene and thinking to myself, oh, we're probably going to get both of these characters maybe still in their prime, but maybe just Steve under a different persona. Because I don't think they take away the Captain America role from him whatsoever. I don't think they take the Captain America role away from Sam Wilson and give it to Steve Rogers. So I think if Steve Rogers is a good guy in here, I don't think he's going to go by the Captain America moniker. But look, I think there's a ton of opportunities here for them to have some fun with it. Hayley Atwell returning as Agent Carter. Maybe she's got to go up against a Captain Hydra along with Sam Wilson's Captain America to kind of see somebody that they knew and loved on an evil side. Same way with Peter Parker, having to kind of see the person he loved in Robert Downey Jr. Being an evil version of themselves. I think there's a lot of possibilities here that this could be a really fun return. So I've always been under the impression that Chris Evans was certainly going to return at some point in time. I just didn't know when, but the idea of it being Avengers Doomsday certainly makes all the sense in the world to me, if you ask me. I would say maybe his return makes more sense than that of a Robert Downey Jr., but the way that they're bringing in Robert Downey Jr., I do think is pretty brilliant in regards to a variant version of himself or Victor Von Doom, just because of the impact that both of these characters have had. And look, I know some people will probably say that they can't make a good Avengers film without these two. I guess we'll probably never know. But I do think the idea of the Russos certainly coming back, and then collaborating with two of their biggest stars, and Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. I don't think that they just attach their names to anything. Well, I mean, Chris Evans just literally just did Red One, which is a flop at the box office. But somebody like Robert Downey Jr. that just got fresh off of an Oscar win for Oppenheimer, I don't think he would want to follow that up with a movie that's just going to utterly flop. And so I think Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr. are going to put butts in seats. People that don't necessarily follow the MCU like some of us do, whether that comes from like the Disney Plus series and all they certainly watch are the movies or no name recognition alone. You tell them Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. are coming back for Avengers movie with the same people that did Infinity War and Endgame. People are going to come out and see this movie regardless of how hardcore of an MCU fan that they certainly are. So I personally think this is a really big win for Avengers Doomsday. It should be a really fun ride. So look, I want to know your guys' thoughts though. If you had the opportunity to have Chris Evans come back, which character would you have him come back as? And with the return of Hayley Atwell, do you think that sort of solidifies how and who Chris Evans could return as, or do you still think there's a possibility of some sort of multiverse level fun here? I definitely would love to know your guys' thoughts. Going back to the Sony thing, Darth said, I agree. Sony and studios in general are making movies with no plan and only to make them. Yeah, I think I don't know how long, like, I think I am curious as to what the Sony contract is like if they have to make a certain number of movies by a certain year, like you can't go more than 4 to 6 years without making a movie. Like I do wonder, or the rights revert back to Marvel, because like they're going to continue to make films, they just are, but whether or not they're going to be good, we'll have to see. Marcelino says, a theory says the OG Avengers will play Dark Avengers, evil versions of the Avengers. RDJ as Doom, Chris as playing Hydra Cap, Thor as Ragnarok, Widow as Black Bride, Hulk as Maester, and Hawkeye as Ronin. Ooh, I love that idea. Maybe when we get into some, I do love that idea. The idea of us going into like a Secret Wars battle world, I think would really set up nicely with something like that, because in Battle World, I think the world was literally set up and like sectioned off for certain characters to have like ownership of that particular piece. Like I think Maestro had a segment of the world that he kind of controlled. So the idea of them coming back as evil versions of themselves as the Dark Avengers would be pretty badass to go ahead and kind of set up them then having some level of power over the world come something like Secret Wars. I kind of dig that. Marcelino. If this theory is true, it's a perfect way to bring the Avengers full circle, especially since there's a rumor that Secret Wars will be the end of the Avengers era of the MCU. I do love that concept. I really do love that concept, because it is one of those things where it's like, all right, so you're bringing all these characters back, but what about all these new characters, right? Like we still have a Young Avengers group that we have to play around with. Are we making a new Champions team? Are we making a new Avengers team? Are you going to bring back the Avengers along with the Young Avengers? And then they all are just simply facing one man in Doctor Doom. Like it feels like there's got to be another proxy in there, another protagonist outside of RDJ, for that to be really impactful. But who knows? I mean, like at some point in time, I do expect Sam Wilson to lead a team of Avengers. So what that team of Avengers is certainly going to look like, we'll definitely have to wait and see. Is it going to be a brand new team of Avengers, and are these characters coming back to sort of be their quote unquote Dark Avengers? And how do the Thunderbolts fit into all this? So there's a lot of moving pieces. But I think if anybody handles moving pieces and bringing stories coherently together, it is the Russo brothers. I mean, they've managed to do it with Civil War and a huge ensemble cast. Same thing with Infinity War and Endgame. They know how to handle not only large casts, but the Marvel Studios world and their level of storytelling. So, look, I don't know if these theories hold up, Marcelino, or not, but I kind of dig that concept. But we'll see. We'll see what happens here. But they'll definitely have some fun with it for sure. But look, guys, I want to know your thoughts on the return of Chris Evans and Hayley Atwell. How would you certainly utilize them in something like Avengers Doomsday? I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, we will move on to our next topic. One that I personally did not see coming, to be quite frank with you. We are going to move from the MCU to the DCU. As we've been eagerly awaiting more word from James Gunn in regards to what his Batman movie or Batman world is certainly going to look like. We know that we have Matt Reeves currently working on the Batman Part 2 that is supposed to be released in 2026, but we haven't really heard much in regards to the development of the Matt Reeves Batman. But it seems as though when it comes to James Gunn's DCU, when he gets an idea, when they get a script that's solid and ready to go, they are not afraid to greenlight projects. And this week, we wind up having a project greenlit that I did not expect. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that is, in fact, a Clayface movie. That's right, a Clayface movie. A character that I think for years, and I mean years, people have been asking for in some capacity or another. I mean, whether that be, look, I mean, I think maybe even as, you know, seeing the animated series, I think people have wanted to see Clayface kind of brought into live action. Maybe even in the Christopher Nolan films, I wonder if people were asking for Clayface to certainly happen. Maybe even in the first Matt Reeves movie, people were probably clamoring for a Clayface. I know people have been really asking for a Clayface for quite some time, but it seems as though James Gunn, he's got something that's ready for us, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and dive into this and see exactly what is going on here. This is going to come to us from Variety.com. Let me pull this up here. Clayface movie officially underway at DC Studios with Mike Flanagan set to write. Let me go ahead and pull up Mike Flanagan's work. Mike Flanagan, American filmmaker. Let's go to his IMDb page and see what writing credentials he's got under his belt. For those of you who are not too familiar, he's got some directing too under his belt as well. But let's go ahead and dive into this article here. Clayface movie officially underway. Fresh off of the success of the HBO series The Penguin, DC Studios has officially greenlit a feature film centered around Clayface, the shape-shifting Batman villain from a script written by Dr. Sleep filmmaker Mike Flanagan. According to a source with direct knowledge of the production, plot details are scarce, but filming is expected to begin early next year. Early next year. I mean, we already have Supergirl in development come 2025. We got Lanterns, the television series, in development 2025. And now you can add, believe it or not, Clayface going into production early next year. Like when they say going into production early next year, that means they pretty much have a lot of their ducks in a row already. Matt Reeves and Lynn Harris will produce through their company. So in some capacity, Matt Reeves is fully aware of this movie happening and is producing it with them. This is an update as of 2 days ago. They even dated the film for September 11th, 2026. So this movie is ready to go in production early next year and already has a release date set. Flanagan, who first pitched the DC Studios on a Clayface project back in 2023, tweeted in 2021 that he was really keen to do a standalone Clayface movie as a horror thriller tragedy. But he already committed to write and direct a new take on The Exorcist for Universal through Blumhouse. And he's also developing a series adaptation of Stephen King's novel Carrie for Amazon. So DC has been on the hunt for a director to take the reins, and an announcement is imminent. So I would assume, it sounds like he also wanted to direct this movie, but because he's got other prior engagements, prior things that he's got to do, it looks like DC is in the hunt right now for a director to take a reign. So hopefully we'll get some information on that here shortly. I've been hearing other things about this film in the sense of its budget maybe coming in at about $40 million. So this being a standalone, coming in at $40 million, I think is a great number. I think that almost, and that I feel like that alone almost sets you up for success. I also find it interesting with it being at $40 million. What's the level of the special effects work that you're going to do here? With him talking about he really wants it to be a horror thriller tragedy, how much of a Clayface are we actually getting in this regards, right? Like, is he going to turn out to be the big clay monster? Is that something that they're going to be holding most of their budget for like the final act? Or are we going to get most of it as like, is he going to be a failed actor? Is he going to have like facial deformities and things like that throughout the film, to be sort of like this horror element aspect, and then maybe turn to this big clay creature towards the end? When you talk about things like the Penguin or the Joker, solo villain films, like characters that you can utilize to make a successful solo villain film. I've heard Mr. Freeze before. I've heard Lex Luthor before. Clayface, I think, is certainly a possibility of being one of those as well. I do believe that some of the other rumors and updates that I've heard is that he may not potentially be the villain, which is fascinating to me, especially when you're trying to make this a horror thriller tragedy. Maybe they want you to feel some way about for this character. Maybe it's just a really tragic story, but at the same time horrific. Looking at Mike Flanagan's past writing work, he wrote The Life of Chuck. He wrote The Fall of the House of Usher, a TV miniseries, Midnight Club TV miniseries, The Hunting of Bly Manor, which I thought was a really great series, honestly, and The Haunting of Hill House. I thought both of those were bangers, quite frankly. Definitely terrified me, to certainly say the least. He also did do Dr. Sleep. He does have like, what is it, Ouija, The Origin of Evil on here. I don't know how well that one went. Oculus, is that the Mirror movie? Oculus. Yeah, I do believe I remember seeing that Oculus movie years ago. I thought that was an interesting film, to certainly say the least. What else does he have under his writing? Those are some of the ones that I'm seeing right now. So I do think he has the potential of making some bangers with a mixed bag, to certainly say the least. He's also directed a lot of these things that he's written as well, like The Life of Chuck. He directed The Fall of the House of Usher. He directed 4 episodes in that. Some of that Haunting of Bly Manor and The Haunting of Hill House he directed, along with Dr. Sleep as well. So pretty solid bag here. Again, some misses, to certainly say the least, but some hits as well. So I'm fascinated by it. I do like what James Gunn is doing here, in the sense of, and he has mentioned this before, the fact that this movie has come out of nowhere, I should say, comes as a surprise, and yet at the same time it doesn't, because James Gunn, for the most part, he's already hinted at the idea that, look, we've got other projects and things in the work that people just are not aware of. And it seems like he's working really behind the scenes to make sure that these scripts are tight, whether that be first, second, third drafts. Like, they are not going to announce something unless they have themselves a really good and solid script that everybody is certainly on board with. And then once it is, that's when he's going to go ahead and green light it. And so the fact that this is really seems like it's getting ready to turn around and start filming in like 2 to 3 months, which would be mind-boggling to me, just the speed at all of this. But it does go to show you that since this was pitched to him back in 2023, there's been constant development over this behind the scenes, and him keeping things really close to the vest, which I appreciate as a moviegoer, just knowing the idea that you can make an announcement and I don't have to wait a year or two before everything to finally start coming together, and then possibly being like, okay, now we're going to start getting into filming. Or worst case scenario, hey, I know we announced this, but by the way, we're not making it anymore, or we're pushing it down to further down the line, sort of thing. So I really do hope bigger franchises and other fandoms really take note about how James Gunn is kind of putting this together, in the sense of really meticulously making sure that everything is right before it's announced, and not just announcing things for announcement's sake, or having to hit a release date or a release window in particular. Look, I don't know if this is going to be a good movie or not, who's to certainly say the least, but I think a lot of people have been asking for Clayface to get some level of feature. And with it being in James Gunn's DCU, whether this is going to be the introduction of some fantastical elements finally into this Batman world, that I don't know. But I love the sound of it being a horror, thriller, and tragedy. It feels so incredibly fitting for somebody like a Clayface. But that's not the only update that we wind up getting here this week, because there were some rumors and speculation going on. Like, wait a minute, James, wait a minute. Last time we heard, there were rumors about the idea that Clayface might be in the Matt Reeves Part 2 movie. Is this happening or not, James? Let us know. And James Gunn had to come out this week and talk a little bit about it and give us some further insight. So he does give us an update in regards to the Batman Part 2, denying reports about Clayface and the Scarecrow. So this is what James Gunn says. James Gunn is sharing an update, or lack thereof, on the Batman Part 2 following news of DC Studios setting release date for Clayface. DC fans are seemingly eager for the future of the DC universe and have been speculating about the upcoming movie slate. A fan took the threads to ask Gunn about a rumor that Clayface and the Scarecrow would be a part of the Batman sequel directed by Matt Reeves. He says, firstly, no. So he debunks that. Secondly, couldn't be the case, as there hasn't yet been a first draft of a script. The Batman Part 2 was initially slated to open in October 25, but was delayed and is now scheduled to release on October 2026. Matt Reeves' film is not part of the Gunn's DC universe, who has another Batman movie in the works, Batman Brave and the Bold. In September, Reeves teased the Batman sequel, telling SFX magazine that he planned to shoot in 2025 and he was finishing up the script now. Colin Farrell will be a part of the movie. He shared with the script as we've been going along with DC and the studio, and they're super excited, Reeves told the magazine. Reeves noted that the Penguin, which stars Farrell as the Gotham City villain, is the entry point to the Batman sequel, and is absolutely connected to where we leave things in this series. He also said that Batman 2 is going to dig into the epic story about deeper corruption and goes into places that he couldn't anticipate in the first one. The seeds of where this goes are all in the first movie, and it expands in the way that will show you aspects of the character you never got to see. So on one hand, in September, Reeves tells SFX magazine he plans to shoot in 2025 and he's finishing up the script now. Whereas here in December, James Gunn says, secondly, couldn't be the case, as there hasn't yet been a first draft of the script. So to some people, this might sound a little bit confusing. I have been hearing things about Matt Reeves in regards to his writing work. And if this is true, maybe this explains a lot, that Matt Reeves himself doesn't necessarily like to hand in multiple drafts of scripts, that he works and reworks his first draft over and over and over again until he gets it to a place in which he's happy, and then he winds up dropping it off and allowing them to see it. So maybe it is one of those things where when James Gunn says something like, I haven't even seen the first draft yet, maybe that's because Matt Reeves is certainly still fine-tuning that first draft. As he says, I haven't finished the script as of yet. So it could be the case that Matt Reeves is finishing up the script, fine-tuning it, and then is going to go ahead and deliver it to James Gunn. If that is in fact the first draft, who knows? Maybe James Gunn and them certainly have some notes. but he's clearly has seen and knows concepts of what Matt Reeves is certainly trying to put together to be able to then debunk the Clayface and Scarecrow being in the film itself. So really, it seems like the only people that know what's in the script is not only James Gunn, but only Matt Reeves as well at this particular point in time. And if also, I would say, because of the fact that Matt Reeves is co-signing and producing along with James Gunn the Clayface movie from the DCU, there clearly is some level of shared notes here, shared community as to how these characters are going to be utilized, who's being used where, who's not being used, sort of thing. So it can kind of all come together in that regard. So I know it sounds hectic and crazy right now. I'm still very much under the belief that the Batman Part 2 is happening. I don't believe anything's been canceled, as past rumors have certainly speculated and talked about. It sounds like the movie is certainly coming along, but the draft is certainly not done yet. If he wants to film in October for Batman Part 2, I am kind of curious as to where that's certainly going to land. And if the Clayface and Scarecrow are not in Batman Part 2, who is in it? I do remember hearing rumors that potentially Hush could be one of the villains in here, and maybe he's got plans for another villain as well, or Court of Owls possibly, if they want to talk about the level of deeper corruption that might be happening in the Batman Part 2 after something like the Penguin series wind up happening. So there is a world that we live in that I can see a Matt Reeves Batman Part 2 not having Clayface and Scarecrow in it. And maybe that's what sort of opened the door for James Gunn to then say, you know what, we do have a really great story and a pitch from Mike Flanagan here for a Clayface movie. If you're not going to utilize him, Matt, maybe we can utilize him certainly in our more fantastical world that we're building around here. So I do think both things can certainly be true. Again, that is if that's how Matt Reeves certainly likes to do his work. I might have to do some research in regards to Matt Reeves' writing techniques to see is how meticulous he is on just the first draft before he certainly delivers anything. But I definitely trust both these men, and they're clearly working together if Matt Reeves is going to be producing the Clayface movie. So you definitely have to be on the same page when that type of stuff happens. But I want to know your guys' thoughts here. A lot of moving pieces. But a Clayface movie is certainly happening from Mike Flanagan himself. Horror, tragedy, thriller, coming in at about $40 million budget-wise, and set to go ahead and begin filming in early 2025. So, yeah, I continue to love how James Gunn is handling his DCU. Marcelino, what's up, Marcelino? He says, I'm not on board with giving Clayface his own movie. I think so many other DC characters are more deserving for their own movie. Vixen, Wonder Woman, Constantine, Zatanna, Dr. Fate. If the Clayface movie was set in Matt Reeves' Bat universe, then I would be on board. But being set in the DCU feels like a waste to me. I understand, and look, I can understand your sentiments, because I feel like I've heard people say this before too. You know, why is Clayface getting a movie? Where's Batman? Where's where's Wonder Woman? Where are all these other characters at, sort of thing? And I think that's fair to ask. But I also would say, if you don't have a good script, don't do it. And I say that because one of the things that James Gunn has really been doing over the past couple of weeks and trying to clarify for people is that, his movie is not his DCU is not so much the build up to a one big bad. He is very much sort of creating an interconnected universe in the sense of something more along the lines of Star Wars than sort of the MCU, if you will, right? So it leaves room for there to not necessarily have to be an order in which you drop these movies. Like, this movie doesn't have to come first in order to connect to this movie. This movie doesn't then need to happen, and then the other movie needs to happen in order for them to connect. It feels very much like he is telling sort of standalone movies very much in this populated world where there maybe is probably an overall arc that will eventually have sort of a crossover event or a big multi-hero sort of movie. But I think the idea is that he's very much just establishing the world that we certainly kind of live in. And so while I get the idea that some people may want to see a Constantine movie or a Zatanna, hell, I'm one of them. I need me a Zatanna project at some particular point in time. I don't think any of these movies are off the table for James Gunn. I do think that he probably has his eye set on doing a lot of what you're asking for. But the problem is that the scripts aren't where they need to be. And for me personally, this is just me personally, I would rather James Gunn do DC studio movies that have really great scripts and are ready to go instead of sitting on the good ones in order to wait years for somebody to come in with a Zatanna script or a Constantine script or a Dr. Fate script that really works. So and then you just sideline all these other good movies that you have in the chamber, but you don't want to do them because you want to get all these other characters out first, sort of thing. So I rather put out the good stuff first instead of put out mediocre scripts that aren't quite ready just because they're bigger and more popular names. So in this regards, it feels like James Gunn truly is doing what he said that he would do, in that in his world, script and story is king. If they've got a good script and a good story that's ready to go, there's no reason not to make these movies. And if they end up being really good movies and you end up sort of continuing to build up this DCU world, when we do get things to like Batman Brave New World and you've got a little bit of a Rogues Gallery set or a world set, a Wonder Woman film, that can be built upon what maybe like a Paradise Lost script winds up kind of giving us. I do think it will be to the benefit to a lot of these characters kind of going forward. So, you're definitely not the first person I've heard say that. I have heard other people in my comments, whether it be Facebook or TikTok, say, oh, I don't necessarily want a Clayface movie, but I would like to see all these other characters first also. I totally get that. But if those scripts aren't where they need to be at, I don't see why you should put out a mediocre film just because of the namesake of the character over a really good quality film that you've got everything really lined up for and certainly ready to go. So, don't sit on good material. And just utilize that to continue to build up what you're doing so far. Because look, you're already going to introduce possibly Clayface and Creature Commandos, right? So I don't want to say it almost feels like a natural progression, but if that character is successful and popular in the animated series and you have a good script for a Clayface movie, boom, go ahead and drop that Clayface movie. Maybe you got something there that you can really sort of build upon. So I do think that the way he's treating it is, I think, very different than what we've been so used to from the MCU and from the previous DCEU, where everything has to be put in a certain timeline to make sense and to kind of connect because you're building up to a bigger thing. I don't necessarily feel that way when it comes to James Gunn. I'm sure there's a plan. I'm clearly sure there's a plan and a map over the next 8-10 years, like he said, with big monumental moments. But I don't think that should stop you from putting out good scripts when you've got good movies that are ready. But I totally get what you're coming from, for sure. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And let's move on to another topic here, as we're going to go from one franchise to another, baby, as this time the Mandalorian and Grogu is back in the news, as filming has officially wrapped on the Mandalorian and Grogu. We've been getting tricklings of casting announcements here and there. I believe Sigourney Weaver is also going to be in this movie also, if I'm not mistaken. But this week we actually did wind up getting another big casting announcement that I certainly was not expecting. But anytime you can get a big name like this, it's certainly always a win. But it does look like the actor Jeremy Allen White, most notably from his time on Shameless, which I was a huge Shameless fan over the several years that it was on, and then most recently The Bear, I think it's the Hulu streaming Hulu show, if I'm not mistaken, also coming fresh off The Bear as well. He is officially joining Mandalorian and Grogu, but maybe not necessarily in the way that I think a lot of us were expecting. This one kind of really grabbed my attention here. But according to let me go ahead and pull this up. According to the Hollywood Reporter, he is set to go ahead and join the cast. White will voice the son of Jabba the Hutt. Joining the cast that includes Pedro Pascal and Sigourney Weaver. Lucasfilm is cooking up a role for Jeremy Allen White. The Emmy-winning star of The Bear has joined Mandalorian and Grogu. Hollywood Reporter can confirm. Lucasfilm did not respond to a request for a comment. White is said to voice, and check this out, Rhoda the Hutt. That's right, you heard me correctly. Rhoda the Hutt. The son of Jabba the Hutt. The character originated in the animation The Clone Wars movie, which bowed in 2008. Jon Favreau is directing the next Star Wars movie, which has a release date of May 22nd, 2026. The film spins off of the Disney Plus series, The Mandalorian, which stars Pedro Pascal as the reluctant caretaker of Grogu, also known as Baby Yoda. Sigourney Weaver also will star in the feature. Says White came up from Showtime series Shameless and hit an A-list with the lead of The Bear, the critically adored show centered on a pressure cooker that is a Chicago kitchen. Coming up, he has the Bruce Springsteen biopic Deliver Me. Oh man, he's gonna kill that role. Him as Bruce Springsteen also. Oh man, I cannot wait to see Jeremy Allen White in that role for sure. So this comes as a surprise, man. I think for me, look, I am a big fan of Jeremy Allen White, but my question is, my question is, with a mug like this, why is he voice acting, man? Like, why does he not have an actual live action role? You're trying to tell me there's like no other live action role they could have given this man? So I almost think it's a waste of talent at this point, to be quite honest with you. I mean, look, Rhoda the Hutt, that's cool. It's cool in the concept of like continuing along with the story of a character that was a baby last time we saw him. Have we seen him in any other? Clarify if I'm wrong, because it's been a minute since I've seen the Clone Wars animated series and Rebels. Does Rhoda the Hutt pop up anywhere else outside of the Clone Wars movie? Did we get to see him as like an adolescence sort of thing? Because I personally kind of dig the idea that now we get to visit Rhoda as an adult, maybe having taken over his father's his mob world or whatever he's turned out to kind of create for himself here. And I think if you get somebody like a Jeremy Allen White, it has to be because of the idea that Rhoda the Hutt plays a significant role in this movie. So he probably does have a significant role, not just necessarily a cameo. But the question I would beg again is like, bro, you've got Jeremy Allen White. Why are you hiding this man's face behind CGI dots? And like, they're gonna mold his face out of, like, use his face like they do Mark Ruffalo for the Hulk, but mold his face into Rhoda the Hutt. So there's a part of me that's a little bit disappointed and bummed that we're not going to be able to see him in live action in this film. But look, getting your foot in the door on a big franchise is always key, though, right? Jeremy Allen White being a voice actor now for The Mandalorian and Grogu certainly opens the door for him to then, if he wants to, have a bigger role to play somewhere else down the line, whether that be, in the upcoming Star Wars films, right? Maybe he's going to be in the Daisy Ridley movie for all we know. It's one of those things where once you start really working with Disney, if they're really happy with what you've been able to do and they know that they've got gold when it comes to you, they will continue to utilize you over and over and over and over again in future projects. So I do think this is a big win for Jeremy Allen White. Do not get me wrong. I think him voicing Rhoda the Hutt does open up opportunities for him to then be in a live action Star Wars movie somewhere down the line. I would be kind of curious if he's a big Star Wars fan also. So mark my words, we will see Jeremy Allen White somewhere in live action at some point in time. But I think this would hit me a little bit more as an announcement if I knew that this man was actually going to be in Mandalorian and Grogu as a live action character. Big win for him, regardless, because he's now part of the Star Wars franchise. But I am a little bit bummed and a little bit underwhelmed that this casting announcement is for an animated character or a CGI character in that world. But we'll see what he can do with the role, man. We'll see what he can do with the role. I hope he doesn't. I will be interested to kind of see what voice he this certainly decides to take up for in this role overall. But yeah, Jeremy Allen White from The Bear and Shameless is joining the cast of The Mandalorian and Grogu. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. What do you guys say? Marcelino says it's about time Rhoda returned. Marcia says Rhoda never appeared anywhere else outside of the Clone Wars. So I do think that's cool that I again, don't get me wrong. I'm happy for Jeremy Allen White. I think that addition, of Rhoda the Hutt here is a fascinating one in regards to what it could potentially mean for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Does Mando, is he taking a mission? Is he taking a bounty? Does Rhoda put him on the mission? Is that who sends him certainly on his way in regards to starting this adventure? I am fascinated to kind of see how Rhoda fits in here. We had Matthew McConaughey, Andy Serkis, Liam Neeson, and John Goodman play CGI characters before in live action. So, yeah, that's why I'm saying I'm pretty sure this will then lead to a much bigger role for Jeremy Allen White in a live action role at some point in time in Star Wars. So good on him for certainly landing this. But I am, especially considering the fact that we've only seen Rhoda from the Clone Wars movie. It is it's like a deep cut. You know what I'm saying? Like a deep cut of bringing back a character. And so it does make me wonder what path the Mandalorian is certainly on. But guys, look, I want to know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below on Jeremy Allen White joining this. Are you underwhelmed by this casting choice? Does it make sense to you? I am intrigued to kind of really see what his voice is going to be like for this movie. And I think I think because of the fact that it's Jeremy Allen White, I don't think that this man has like a 2-minute, 5-minute scene. Like I do think that he is a pivotal role in this movie. At least that's what I think. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts. Maybe somebody stole his son, and now I know what it's like to be captured and kidnapped, Mando. I want my son back. Find my son. I mean, who knows? I'm really interested to know what his voice is going to be like. Is he going to sound like the Godfather? I need to know, Jeremy. I need to know. Give us a tease a little bit. Like even if you can't tell us anything about the movie, I need to know how you sound. I hope an interviewer asks him that. Can you just tease us with the voice that you're going to go with? But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. All right. Let's move on from the Star Wars franchise and dig a little bit deeper in regards to Disney. Look, man, I know how people feel about Disney remakes at this point. Trust me, people tell me all the time in the comment section on Facebook or anytime that I populate a remake trailer of anything from Disney that's set to come out. I mean, people are very vocal about their distaste for, oh my God, another Disney remake. Yes, another Disney remake. I guess for me, my question is, like, at what point in time do you stop making Disney remakes? Like, how current is too current to make a live action remake? It would be the question that I would have for Disney at this point in time. Like, at what is there like a year cutoff? Like within the last 5 years, we can't remake something we just made 5 years, 10 years ago. I am kind of curious as to, and then when you get done remaking your classics, then what? Like, is it then a animated remake of the live action remake? Like, I'm curious as to like how this will just continue to spin. And while people may be upset about it, look, the unfortunate truth these days is reboots, remakes, and sequels are cash grabs. Okay, they make the most money at the box office. Regardless as to how some people might feel about it, people still go out to see these movies. They may not all be great, they may not all be good. Some may be decent, some may be really good. They may be a little bit all over the place. But unfortunately, the message that Hollywood continues to get is the box office loves reboot, remakes, and sequels. And so here we are. Disney is continuing, and this is a business about making money. And so here we are. We got ourselves another Disney remake certainly headed our way. This time, no, not Genius Bank. This time, it will come in the form of, if this will ever close to me, Tangled. That's right. Rapunzel's getting her own movie. This is from Variety.com. Tangled live action movie set at Disney with the Greatest Showman director Michael Gracie attached. So that's right. We're getting ourselves a Tangled movie, y'all. To be fair, I never saw this movie in theaters. I've never seen this animated film. I believe isn't Shazam the voice actor of this character in here? Why is it Zachary Levi? Isn't Zachary Levi the voice actor for the guy here in Tangled? Yeah, I'm sorry to tell you, Zachary, but Disney's not hiring you for this role, my guy. Just so you know. Tangled live action movie set at Disney with the Greatest Showman director attached. It says Tangled is the latest Disney movie to get a live action treatment. The studio is developing a reimagining of the 2010 animated movie, a musical take on the Brothers Grimm story about the magically long-haired Princess Rapunzel. The Greatest Showman filmmaker Michael Gracie is in talks to direct the film from a script by Jennifer Caton Robinson, whose credits include the Netflix campy dark comedy Do Revenge, along with Thor: Love and Thunder and the upcoming I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot. Casting has yet to be announced. When they say Thor: Love and Thunder, maybe she did rewrites with Taika Waititi, because I think Taika Waititi wrote that. Tangled tells the tale of Rapunzel, a princess who is voiced by Mandy Moore, who was eventually rescued from her secluded tower by an outlaw named Flynn Rider. The well-reviewed film opened 14 years ago around Thanksgiving and generated $592 million at the global box office. Damn, which would have had better results had the movie not reportedly carried a $260 million production budget. Ouch. Okay. Yeah. Let me see here. What else does it say? Gracie made his directorial debut in the 2017's The Greatest Showman. That film initially struggled at the box office before achieving sleeper hit status with more than $450 million globally. So yeah, a reimagining. It says the studio is developing a reimagining of the 2010 animated movie. So when they say reimagining, I do wonder what that means. It sounds very much like, I don't know if that's the same terminology that they use for every reboot, or if this is truly like a reimagining in the sense of, we're taking some liberties with the animated movie that we did, and we're telling it a little bit differently. Is it like are these characters a little bit older now? If you're telling me it's more of like a dark comedy, or the person that wrote it has more sort of dark comedy tones to it, dark comedy chops from the Netflix show Do Revenge, Thor: Love and Thunder, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. A reimagining sounds unique. It doesn't sound like, when they say reimagine, again, I don't know if that's the proper term that Disney uses for a lot of their remakes or their reboots for stuff. But maybe there's a little bit of a twist here for this Rapunzel movie that will certainly separate it. Like, are these characters older than what they originally appeared? Do they have a different take to these characters? Is there a little bit of some dark humor in this movie? I don't know. I never watched the original one. If you've seen the first Tangled, what was the tone and the vibe certainly like? So I would be kind of curious. I don't believe Mandy Moore is going to come back, and even though she was the voice actor, I highly doubt whoever the voice actors were for these characters that they would they would return. So I do expect all new casting and whatnot. But we'll see. That is the latest. Disney remake that we have news for you guys. Marceline says it's hypocritical for people to complain about reboots and remakes always happening when they're the ones giving their money to the reboots and the remakes. It happens all the time, man. It happens all the time. I hear people complain all the time about like make more original movies, and they do make original movies, but like people don't go out to see them, and then they hit you with but make good ones, and then okay, but we still make good ones, and people still don't go out to see them. So like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't. And look, you could probably open up your AMC theaters list or your what movies are in theaters. There will be an original movie in there somewhere. It's just a matter of, are you buying tickets to go and see it? You know. So yeah, it is an argument that always makes me laugh and always makes me roll my eyes, because it's like, no, you guys don't want original movies. You guys really don't want original movies, because if you did, majority of people would go back to see them. It's just not. You know, it's a reason why Hollywood's formula is continuing to change. Why they take less risks on lower budget original films, because people just do not go out to see them, unfortunately. You know, maybe you might have your addition, you know, your hits every now and then, your hidden gems that really do succeed. But every now and then, I mean, you know, people will just continue to move the goalposts, unfortunately. But the next remake, y'all, is Tangled, live action movie from Disney. Let me know your thoughts if you were a big fan of the Tangled film itself. I definitely would love to know how you guys personally feel about it. And with that out of the way, we got one last topic for you guys today. And look, everybody loves dinosaurs, man. And Jurassic World Rebirth is back in the news. You know, despite me not necessarily being like the biggest fan of Fallen Kingdom, I honestly find myself falling asleep to that movie all the time. I think it's just a quality of the film that just puts me to sleep, unfortunately. Even though I love the actors that are certainly involved. Justice Smith, I'm a big fan of. Chris Pratt, I'm a fan of. Dallas Bryce Howard, I'm a big fan of. Or Bryce Dallas Howard. I can never remember what order to say her name in, to be honest with you. I never got the opportunity to finish Dominion yet, even though they have like a fantastic sort of cast and returning cast from the original Jurassic Park. But Universal is very quick, or has been very quick, to put this Jurassic World Rebirth movie into production. I can't quite recall if production's already wrapped, if filming's already wrapped or not, but we have seen images come out of Jurassic World Rebirth, as they have some really big names. Scarlett Johansson's attached to this. Mahershala Ali is attached to this. Gareth Edwards as the director, fresh off of Rogue One and other really big films. And believe it or not, the original writer of Jurassic Park movie and Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World, David Cope, is back to go ahead and write this. It took Universal no time to get cameras rolling and people on set to go ahead and pump this out, as they clearly have big hopes for it. And this week, the writer of it, David Cope himself, came out and talked a little bit about the film, give us a little bit more insight, saying compares the new movie to the original Jurassic Park. And who better to truly know what to compare it to than the original writer himself. It says, welcome back to Jurassic Park, 32 years after Jurassic Park and 3 years after the series seemingly went extinct with 2022's Jurassic World Dominion. Screenwriter David Cope is reviving the Universal franchise as Jurassic World Rebirth with the DNA of the Spielberg-directed original. Cope, who scripted the 93's Jurassic Park with author Michael Crichton and the 97's Lost World Jurassic Park, revealed that the upcoming fourth Jurassic World movie will be closer in spirit to the first installment than the recent trilogy that starred Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. He says, I hope people like the movie because the series tended to change after Jurassic Park 3. And it felt like, okay, so let's change our tone. Steven Spielberg and I were interested in a tone that was maybe more akin to the very first movie, Cope said to the Discourse podcast. I saw it early on as a mission movie. I like things that are driven by bottles, by containment. He said that mission sees an intrepid team racing to secure DNA samples from the three most colossal creatures across land, sea, and air. Developing a limited team and a thing that they have to accomplish, that was all really fun. And it was just fun to return to that world of great adventure backed by real science and write some cool new characters. You don't often get a chance to have a blank slate and say, what do you want to do? There's no franchise expectations other than dinosaurs. That sounds like a pretty big sandbox to be able to work in. He says, Cope even compiled a list of 9 commandments for the new Jurassic movie, a list of things that we had to abide by. He doesn't give all 9, but he says one was that the events of the previous 6 movies cannot be contradicted or denied because I do not like a retcon. Those are no fun. And he says, 2, humor is oxygen. Science must be real. You know, all the things that we wanted our movie to be. And I just had a great fun doing it with Steven and then with director Gareth Edwards. Let me just say this. Okay, before I get into it. 5 years have after the events of Dominion, which saw dinosaurs roaming the Earth, the planet's ecology has proven largely inhospitable to dinosaurs. Those remaining exist in isolated equatorial environments with climates resembling the ones in which they once thrived. The 3 most colossal creatures within that tropical biosphere hold the key to a drug that will bring miraculous life-saving benefits to humankind. Scarlett Johansson plays a skilled covert operations expert, Zora Bennett, contracted to lead a skilled team on a top secret mission to secure genetic material from the world's 3 most massive dinosaurs. When Zora operation intersects with a civilian family whose boating expedition was capsized by a marauding aquatic dino, they all find themselves stranded on an island where they come face to face with a sinister, shocking discovery that's been hidden from the world for decades. So again, you get the family stranded. This feels like classic Jurassic Park to a certain extent. Bumping into a group of professional scientists that have to all help everybody survive sort of mentality. So don't get me wrong. There are definitely sort of some Jurassic World or Jurassic Park tropes in here that I think we can all kind of relate to or sound very familiar to us. But I will say a couple things. One, he talks highly about the idea of working with Steven Spielberg here. This gives me hope. You know, I don't know what Steven Spielberg's involvement was like in the previous trilogy or whatever the case may be, but he name drops working with Steven Spielberg a lot. And that definitely does give me hope for Jurassic World Rebirth in regards to really the tone and the vibe that they really want to go ahead and set for this movie. The fact that he's working closely with another prolific writer, I think, is really astounding to me. So I am eager to see what they come up with. But I do love the concept of 9 commandments in here. One, previous movies will not be retconned. I do love that, despite the fact that yes, we may not like all those movies. I do love that this is just a continuing world that we're just building on top of building and top of building of what certainly came before us. So I really enjoy that. 2, humor is oxygen. So there's got to be some levity in this, and the science must be real. And I'm a really big fan of that. Look, I don't know how crazy the science might have gotten in some of the other movies. I'll have a scientist or a DNA scientist kind of tell me that it did seem like it got a little bit crazy with the splicing of DNA and creating these crazy ass dinosaurs and stuff. So I don't know if that's, who knows. But I do love the idea that there is a level of groundedness and realism that they want to bring to it for scientific purposes. But you need the humor. You need the oxygen, whether that's like a Chris Pratt humor, who certainly knows. I would be kind of curious as to in this in the cast, who is going to go ahead and be the one to go ahead and bring that humor, to certainly say the least. But look, I'm all for this. I do love the concept of there being a mission. Of there being something that needs to be focused on. and having a group of people all with the same sort of foundation of trying to find what they need. I am curious as to what three colossal creatures they're looking for. Like for me, the idea of having to go into the ocean and face off against the I don't even know what the name of the big ass shark under there is. But the Meg, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. How they extract DNA from that one, I certainly have no idea, but it should be certainly a fun ride. And the idea that we get new characters, there's really nothing kind of holding them back. The concept of being able to tell stories, and just the only thing that is clearly like in this Jurassic Park Bible that they have to abide by is dinosaurs got to be in this movie. Outside of that, I mean, yeah, just let your imagination run. And so I do have hope that this is going to be, despite how quickly this has come together, I think they've got some incredible talent. And again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. One, the return of David Cope, I think, is a big win. Having him really name drop Steven Spielberg a lot is also another big win for me personally. But then when I take a step back and I ask myself, like, I was surprised when people like Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali attached themselves to a Jurassic Park movie. I thought to myself, like, I've not known them to really do cash grabs, right? Like I mean, granted, I have seen some bad Scarlett Johansson movies, don't get me wrong, but just based off of where they're at in their career right now, I don't think that they are the type that can afford really attaching themselves to bad movies, especially Mahershala Ali. And so maybe this is him doing something outside of his comfort zone, outside of his box. But I got to think that they read something in the script that was really compelling for them to attach their names to. And if that's the case, with everything that David Cope is saying here, I can see why they would certainly attach their name to something like this. So should be another great dinosaur survival type of movie. What this big secret is that's been off people's radars for decades or centuries, I definitely need to find out. But I'm definitely gonna put my trust in David Cope along with Steven Spielberg and what they're certainly creating here. But look, guys, I want to know your thoughts. How do you feel about what the writer of this film is talking about? The Mosasaurus was the water dinosaur. Thank you so much, Marcelino. I was about to try and Google that here in a second, but yeah, like, and then what's the biggest one in the air? The pterodactyl? Is there another form of a pterodactyl that I'm not aware of? Yeah, I gotta know. I gotta know. And what do these life-saving drugs do? Like, there's a part of me that thinks of like was it Krakoa Island from the X-Men, in the sense that like the mutants wind up creating um like life-saving drugs for humans just from the materials and stuff from their island alone. I think one was like to cure you of like different diseases and stuff. One I think was like extended life cycle or something like that. So I am kind of curious as to like what some of these drugs are potentially doing to risk your life to have to go ahead and acquire these from these big ass dinosaurs. But I think they've got a really good cast around them for sure. So I'm eager to kind of see what this movie turns out to be. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that, that will wrap it up for us today in regards to all of our main topics. And with that out of the way, I think you guys know what time it is.
And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And we're going to get into some live viewer questions here as well. I will go ahead and put some background music on. I forgot to do that last week, but give me a few minutes here. I might distort my voice a little bit, but I'll be back. Let's see here. Yeah, I was hoping I haven't seen him in about a week. He's kind of missed out on some of the Skeleton Crew episode reviews for us, so I was kind of hoping I would get him today. I am expecting him to be part of the Skeleton Crew here review this week, hopefully. I know Crystal Kyber is going to be joining us for episode 4 of Skeleton Crew, and hopefully for the remainder of the weeks. So we'll see. Live viewer questions. Yeah, let's get into that, shall we? And again, if you want to submit a live viewer question over, you can certainly do so. As always, just go over to our YouTube channel, as you see right here. Usually on Saturday afternoons or Saturday evenings, I will go ahead and post it. This morning, I was a little bit late with it. Unfortunately, I apologize. But go to the community tab, as you see here, and there will be a live viewer question post. I'm probably going to try and knock out where is let me scroll back up to Ram Jam. Let's get his out of the way so I don't forget it. I don't know if it caught everything that he asked, but we'll try and get this too. Adam, what are your thoughts on Sesame Street being up for sale and not being renewed on Max? You know, one, I will say it doesn't surprise me that it's not being renewed by Max. You know, I'm starting to get a feel as to who David Zaslav is, certainly as a person in general. And I think he probably might have some issues with Sesame Street, but who knows? A little bit of a bummer, but I'm sure somebody will pick it up. You know, Sesame Street is my son still watches Sesame Street. It's such a great educational program. I grew up on it. I've always been a really big fan of Sesame Street and its messages. So I do expect it to be picked up by somebody. Who that will be, I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of people say, please, not Disney. I don't know why not Disney. I'm okay with anybody else, though. That certainly works for me. I guess for me, like, I've always seen it on PBS. So I don't know if is PBS owned by Warner Brothers. I don't think so. I think PBS is a publicly funded service. So it may get maybe a small amount from federal. I'm not quite sure, but I think for the most part, I don't know who it's. I feel like it's always been funded by public. Whether or not they have the type of money to just buy Sesame Street outright, that I don't know. But PBS would be really great, I think, if they don't already have that connection to it. But yeah, I don't know who else should pick it up. Are you looking forward to the animated release of Dynamic Duo? Yeah, mind you, Dynamic Duo, and I thought maybe I didn't see it in the articles that we talked about today, but the Dynamic Duo does have a release date now. For those of you who, it's the animated movie Dynamic Duo, DC Studios animated Batman verse movie, spotlighting the origin of two Robins, Dick Grayson and Jason Todd. That officially has a 2028 release date, and with it being animation and stop motion, and the studio behind it does incredible work. So I can see why it might take them a while to actually create this animated film. But I'm going to predict this right now. If the script is solid, Dynamic Duo is definitely going to be nominated for best animated film at the Oscars. You can book it right now. It's December 15, 2024, 4 years out, and I'm saying Dynamic Duo will be nominated for best animated picture of 2028. What are your thoughts on Power Rangers seasons like Zeo, Lost Galaxy, In Space, and Turbo, Wild Force, RPM, SPD, and now MMPR are appearing on Tubi? I do wonder if they've managed to get the streaming rights for it. I am curious if it's anywhere else. I believe they might still be on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. But from a streaming purpose, is Tubi free? I feel like Tubi might be free, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me know if you guys have Tubi, how much you're paying for it, or if it is a free service. But I'm cool with it. I mean, look, it's not. I don't believe it's Netflix. I don't know how, like, in the sense of it's a wide range of how many people it gets, but you know, I think it should be okay. You know, I think it should be all right. And if anything, I think it's probably the thing too with Netflix that Ram Jam says Tubi is free. I'm probably sure they're probably going to make some type of money off of Power Rangers being there for sure. Again, I don't think the access to it is as global as Netflix certainly is, or has as many viewers, or whatever the case may be. But you know, it probably wasn't making if anything, they probably weren't making a lot of money on Netflix. Maybe a lot of people weren't watching a lot of those series any longer. Maybe, viewership maybe dropped off, or at this point, with them not really doing anything with the Power Ranger franchise anymore after declining the Hasbro show that was pitched to them, it makes sense that they probably want to part ways with it. Marcelino says, I do have Tubi. They make terrible content, but their category with all their licensing is great. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's got a strong licensing aspect to it. So probably a good landing point. But appreciate your question. Let's see here. Jessica Friedman. Do you think if the CW had not been sold, we would be getting more seasons of Superman and Lois, Batwoman, and Legends and Stargirl? And which animated Disney movie would you like to see a live action version next? Oh God. I do think if CW had not been sold, yes, I do think that we would be getting more seasons. Whether or not we would get more seasons of Superman and Lois, that I don't know. Just because James Gunn's doing his own thing now with Superman, it is one of those things, like I wonder if they still have that quota of like, hey, we can't have contradictory Superman on at one point at multiple times. Although we are getting that with the Batman, in the sense of Elseworlds and DC Studios. So I do wonder if James Gunn would have allowed Superman and Lois to continue, especially considering the fact that the show has been really great. I think he's even personally a really big fan of it. And so I think if James Gunn is okay with two versions of these characters existing in Elseworlds and DC Studios when it comes to Batman, maybe he would have allowed Superman and Lois to certainly continue. Because I feel like I'm under the impression more so that they're not continuing Superman and Lois because of the changes in management over at the CW. Maybe I'm wrong, and James Gunn has clarified this before in the past. I'm not sure. Somebody let me know if James Gunn has specifically spoke on this. But even if not Superman and Lois, like, let's take that out of the equation. I do think maybe Legends would have had another season. I think Stargirl probably would have been going strong. I don't necessarily know if something like I don't know if Naomi would have happened. I don't think Naomi would have lasted past the season that it did. But I do think some shows would have continued, and they would have continued along with more superhero shows for sure. Blossom, I don't know if I've asked you this or not, but still, if you guys had a lantern ring, what color would you have? Oh my God. Maybe this question was asked a long time ago. Hold on. Okay. So, ring was rage, orange was greed, yellow was fear, green was willpower, blue was hope, indigo compassion, violet was love, black death, and white was life. I probably would have. I feel like I would be blue. I feel like I'm a very hopeful guy, almost to the point of maybe in naivety at times, I try and see the brighter side to things. I know right now, and it's probably one of the reasons why my channel hasn't grown as much as it has. I mean, maybe granted, I probably could do other content on this channel, but there is a part of me that believes, like, just with the way the algorithms are and how people love rage baiting and negativity selling these days, and criticism and stuff really sells in that sense. I try and always approach how I review and view things completely differently. Like I try and be a critic first from the point of hopefulness, of like, let me point out the things that I loved and enjoyed about content first, and then I will get to my cons. Don't get me wrong, I will definitely get into the things that I was not a fan about. But as somebody that calls himself a fan and really loves these different types of mediums and franchises that I view, I always try and view them as a hopeful fan, in the sense of talking about the things that I love and enjoy and take away that I find meaningful from the stuff that I watch, more so than being a critic just to be opinionated or to condemn something or to be overly critical these days, right? There was a great line from Eminem in his most recent album. Is off the very first track. I think it's called Renaissance, where he says, I don't see a bunch of fans. All I see is a bunch of complainers. And that's what I feel like people are these days, is that I feel like we go into movies and television shows trying to break them down and find something to complain about and to be critical of. And it's just not how I go into stuff that I watch. You know, I try and go into things with a hopeful and open mind, in the sense of, you know, what do I enjoy about this first and foremost, and then secondly, what don't I? And sometimes I think that type of stuff is reversed, and I think maybe it's just the cynicism that humanity has kind of grown over the years, how people certainly tackle certain things. But for me, I have always tried to stay hopeful, and so I do think at the end of the day, Blue would probably be the one that I would do. Marcelino says, one of your most viewed videos is you raging on CW not picking up Painkiller. So yeah, rage baiting does sell. Oh yeah, absolutely. It absolutely does sell. You're right. I'm glad you pointed that out. My displeasure with the CW of not picking up Painkiller over something like Powerpuff Girls, and my displeasure, and they got a lot of Black Lightning fans like riled up and like, yeah, I agree with you. FCW, what a terrible mistake. I mean, people want to rage on things, and I totally get it. And when I feel compelled to do something like that, I will go ahead and do it. But I try to approach it as a fair critic. You know, when I think of Ebert and goddamn, why am I when I look at other critics that I've been very fond of over time, I don't believe that they ever go into something trying to purposefully be overly critical or have a level of cynicism towards it. I think they are going to it very fair-minded, talk about how something made them feel, the things that they enjoyed along with the things that they didn't like. But rage baiting, I feel like people have all of a sudden put that together with what it takes to be a critic, and I think it's really devalued it, because I there's a lot of people I don't even watch anymore, because I feel very skeptical as to their agendas, how they're approaching things, and if I can really trust their honest opinion about something, just because I think things are so skewered these days. But to answer your question, a Blue, because I try and be a hopeful person when it comes to certain things. I remember I said something about my Tokujers creating their own planets and getting so into their assignment that their plans were brought to life for the conflict. What if the Nightmare Empire were to somehow corrupt them? Ooh, hey, corruption goes deep, and all it takes is one seed sort of planted and to catch fire to one other person or one other thing, and then it slowly kind of builds. So I do think that concept of corruption for something in regards to creating their own planets and their planets thriving and being brought to life, the concept of creation, I think corruption goes perfectly with that. Marcelino, this is a nitpick, but I find that the episode titles Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury to be super generic and boring. I see them as titles for episodes for other shows. I know that there are almost 1,000 episodes, so creatively it's hard, but most episode titles from previous seasons would borrow names that would be exclusive to their respective seasons. I started noticing this with Dino Fury finale, where the final 3 episodes are titled The Invasion, The Truth, The Nemesis, which I don't find interesting. If it were up to me, I titled them Spork's Invasion, The Truth About Area 61, The Rathcon Nemesis. And for the final episodes of Cosmic Fury, instead of calling it The End, I will title it Spirit of the Grid, All Hail Lord Zed, May the Power Protect You, etc. Do you have similar feelings or have different perspectives? I definitely agree with you. To be fair to the creators of Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury, I know that they have mentioned that, like Simon Bennett has mentioned the idea that the reasons why some of the titles are so bland and generic is because they don't necessarily want to give away spoilers or hints in regards to what the story is that they're trying to tell in there. And to that regards, okay, I can kind of get it, but I still think you could come up with better titles. Like, I still think you could come up with better compelling titles than what they certainly did that wouldn't necessarily give anything away. And so things that what you're saying and referring to in here, I would totally agree. I do think that there's a way to make the titles more appealing and more compelling without necessarily giving away what it is that the main story or secrets or spoilers that you don't want people to certainly know about. So yeah, I do have a similar feeling with you, Marcelino. This is a hypocritical scenario I just thought of, but Paul Walker at one point auditioned to be Anakin Skywalker. Now, here's my scenario. Paul Walker gets cast to play Anakin Skywalker, and several years later, the car accident that resulted in his death in 2013 still happens. And several years later, Lucasfilm wants to make an Obi-Wan TV show. How will that TV show play out now that Paul Walker is dead? Would they use CGI to revive his corpse or just straight up recast him? Oh, God. I think in this regards, maybe recast him. I felt in this way I would probably say recast him. When they did Peter Cushing as Tarkin. Oh, hypothetical. Sorry, did I read that wrong? Hypothetical. I'm sorry. Hypothetical scenario. When I did Tarkin, I felt some type of way about Tarkin. One, just I don't think the CGI was as good as it needed to be if they were going to do something like that. And I'm just a believer in, like, let these people rest. I think maybe that's another fear of AI too that actors have, that, well, when I'm dead, are you just going to be able to use my likeness and anything that you want to use in AI? So yeah, I wouldn't use CGI to revive his corpse. I would just straight up recast him at that point. It is different in the sense to me from like somebody like a Black Panther, in the sense that like with the T'Challa character, I can see why they might have wanted to have recast him, but instead of like just moving the mantle onto somebody else, I would have been fine with whatever they decided to do. But like in this sense, if he is Anakin Skywalker and it's his story, you can't really like just put somebody else in his place, right? Like if it's literally the story of Anakin Skywalker and his growth into what he's going to then become later on, you can't just say, oh, Anakin Skywalker dies, so we're just going to take this brand new character and put him in the Anakin Skywalker place and then continue that journey for somebody else. You would definitely need to continue Anakin Skywalker's story. So in that sense, yeah, give me a recast of him. Enter Hayden Christensen. I don't know, but yeah, I would say recast him. I have an idea that could have helped Black Adam be better. Have Black Adam be a political thriller movie. Have the plot be that the people of Kahndaq revive Black Adam in hopes of overthrowing their dictatorship government. Black Adam wants to do it by force, but is told by his that they need to think strategically and only use his power when they can. If Black Adam just does it by force, it could cause the attention of outside forces like Justice Society. That's right, the Justice Society will not be in this, and focus will be more on Black Adam trying to win over the people, his relationship with Adriana Tomaz and her son Amon, as well as contending with citizens who enjoy living under a dictatorship government. The one thing this version of Black Adam has going for it is that at least it's trying something different and not just a generic superhero. What do you think? Let me think on that for just a second. I would say I kind of like the direction you're going with that. I would still find a way to put Justice Society in there, even if it's just like a final act segment of it. But the idea of the hopes of Black Adam overthrowing their dictatorship government, Black Adam wants to do it by force, but is told that he can't, needs to think more strategically, only use his powers. I would like to see that unfold, but I do want it to get to the point to where I guess it depends on what you're trying to make Black Adam out to be. If you're trying to make him sort of like an anti-hero or a villain, you know what I mean? Because if we will focus more on Black Adam trying to win over his people, his relationship with Adrian and her son Oman, as well as contending with citizens who enjoy living under a dictatorship government, that would be interesting. I would, because with somebody as powerful as Black Adam, I know that he wants to win over his people and do things certainly the right way, but I feel like Black Adam would probably at some point in time want to do things his own way. You know, I wonder if that would be true to his character or not. Like, to me, it would be, yes, we want to overthrow the dictator government, but they want him to do it more strategically. And as much as Black Adam tries, something pushes him over the edge to where he's like, I'm just going to use force. And that final act being him using force. And then maybe even Justice Society having to come in to kind of reel him in a little bit. So I like the idea of him trying, but something pushing him over the edge to where it's no longer he overthrows a dictator government by force, but Justice Society has to kind of come in and reel things in, sort of thing. But I kind of like what you're saying, though. I kind of dig the spin for sure. Yeah, and I think that will be it. I'm just gonna reload this just to make sure. Yeah, I think I got, well, it says 4 comments, but I'm only seeing 3. Maybe that was Ram Jam's comment. Yeah, it says 4 comments, but for some reason it's only showing 3. Maybe that is, I thought there was another one. Oh, Sam, do you have a comment? Okay, Sam did have a comment, but I think he put it on the old post. What do you think of the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang remake on Works? I don't think I ever watched the original Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, to be honest with you. So that sounds like a Disney Plus release only. Would you like to see Soul Calibur or Final Fantasy in live action? I would love to see it, honestly. Either or is fine with me. I'm a big I used to be a big Final Fantasy fan, I should certainly say, but it's been a minute since I followed it, since 12, I believe. But yeah, it's been a minute. But yeah, that will do it for all of our live viewer questions. Marcelino says, long story short, George Reeves hated playing Superman because he felt like his show was juvenile and felt it destroyed his acting and took his own life after the show ended. Oh, that's sad, man. That's sad. That's really sad. The worst uses of CGI reviving corpses with a Flash movie. Yeah, George Reeves' story on Superman being the worst usage. Yeah, I would agree. in my version of Black Adam, there would be very little action. There would be action, but very little. My goal of Black Adam's story is to show that his way is wrong and learns how to do things the right way. Yeah, that would be I will say that would definitely be a very interesting and compelling story, like especially as a political thriller. I don't necessarily know if it would be what people certainly expect it to be, but I would be curious to see how that would hit the box office, how people would react to a Black Adam movie with very little action and seeing him actually sort of be forced to do things sort of the right way. Blossom says, I was asking about Yodana 4 if you saw it. I still have not seen it. I don't have to see that Juro stealing bimbo. Yeah. Appreciate the hard time, Blossom. Yeah, I still haven't seen it. I feel like I haven't even seen Yodana 2. I still don't even know if I've seen Yodana 2 and 3 yet. I got a lot of catching up to do, man, when it comes to my tokusatsu stuff, for sure. My Toei stuff. But yeah, guys, that will do it for all of our live viewer questions today. So thank you, everybody that definitely participated. Certainly appreciate you as always. Let me take this volume off also. But yeah, we got a couple of content, some different types of content for you guys certainly coming the rest of this week. I am editing our ranking of our 2024 most anticipated movies. We did a top 5 ranking last year of what we were looking forward to in 2024, and now we were ranking out of those films, you know, which one do we thought were the best. So we're ranking that one, and we're also going to, I think tomorrow, me and Stuart are supposed to be getting together to record a top 5 most anticipated movies for 2025, and there's a lot of them. So maybe like 1 or 2 honorable mentions, and then our top 5 to certainly look forward to. So a ton of content headed your way. We're going to be having another reviews for Creature Commandos episode 4, Skeleton Crew episode 4 as well. Both of our recent episode reviews are currently up on our YouTube page if you haven't checked them out yet. And then we got What If season 3 dropping December 22nd, the final season as well. We'll definitely be talking about that and doing a review for the channel here as well. So a lot of great content certainly headed your guys' way. And look, if there's any other type of content that you guys want to see from us, you know, whether that to be help separate us from other things, other channels, I definitely would love to know your guys' thoughts. It is a little bit hard because sometimes it feels like I am sort of like a one-man machine sometimes when it comes to having to pop out all this content myself, but I'm always open to doing other things. I do think our shorts, our reels have really helped the growth of this channel, but always looking for other ideas as well. So feel free to shoot some ideas in the comment section, email us directly or DM us if you want to. But that will be it for us here today. If you want to follow us on social media, everywhere at A+ Opinions on social media. You can also find us at TikTok at Hero Report. We're also on BlueSky at heroreport.bsky.social. Follow us there as well. And if you haven't subscribed to us on our YouTube channel, man, what are you guys waiting for? Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It definitely does go a long way. But until next time, guys, that will do it for me. I'll certainly see you guys next weekend. So in the meantime, do me a big favor, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.